You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of What If Naruto Meets Ranma? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of KFB Anime 87 on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Later. Naruto and Nabiki were now in a restaurant, where Naruto and her were eating some ramen. When you said you would buy me a meal, I didn't expect a ramen stand, fish cake, Nabiki said, as she looked at her bowl of ramen. Next time, get assurances that it's a high-class place, Naruto said with a chuckle, as he readied his chopsticks to eat. You're so cheap, that you would take your future wife to a ramen place? Nabiki asked with a raised eyebrow. Oh, don't be a drama queen. Plus, this is a good place, so give it a chance, Naruto said as he looked at Nabiki. Fine. But I want ice cream later, Nabiki said, as she readied her own chopsticks. Yes dear, Naruto said with a flat tone, before he started to eat. Are you back talking to me? Nabiki asked him. You bet. I don't know why, but I like when I get under your skin, Naruto said with a snicker. Nabiki scoffed at this, as she ate some of her ramen, and paused as she tasted it. It's good huh? Naruto asked with a smile at her. It's okay, Nabiki admitted with a shrug, before she started to eat. Naruto smiled at this, as they both ate together. So, I have a question for you, Nabiki, Naruto said as he ate. Let's hear it Whiskers. But don't be too personal, Nabiki said simply, after she swallowed her ramen. I'm gonna guess you know about Ryoga, going from what Ranma told me about how he got cursed, Naruto stated, as he looked at Nabiki. Yeah. I'm actually observant, unlike Akane, Nabiki said, as she rolled her eyes. Okay. So why are you letting Ryoga dash, Naruto was saying, before Nabiki put up her hand to stop him. Don't worry about it. Ryoga doesn't have it in him to take advantage of Akane, beyond what he's done so far, Nabiki said. Wait, really? That's all you got? Naruto asked with an unimpressed tone, as this didn't sound that reassuring. Well that, and I threatened him that if I ever find out he did something he shouldn't have involving my sister, I would feed him to the bears at the zoo, Nabiki said with a sweet smile, that was very unnerving. In his human form, or his cursed form? Naruto asked with a cocked eyebrow. Whichever gets the point across, Nabiki said, as she crushed her empty plastic cup for emphasis. Naruto looked at Nabiki and saw she wasn't bluffing. That's hot, he said under his breath. Nabiki paused at this and smirked a little. Oh really, she asked coyly. Naruto blushed at this. I just said that out loud, didn't I? He asked in realization. Nabiki burst out laughing at this, not her usual sarcastic laughter, but a genuine laugh. Naruto paused at this, as he looked at Nabiki, as she laughed. Wow, she has a really nice laugh, he thought to himself, before he shook his head and composed himself, and went back to his ramen. Soon, they were both done and a waiter was coming to get their bowls, and get the bill. So I have a question, Nabiki said, as she looked at Naruto, as she rested her chin on her hand. What's that? Naruto asked her, as he got out his money to pay the waiter. What's with the special canteen you have been carrying around? Nabiki asked, as she had been curious about this. Naruto paused at this, as Nabiki didn't know about his cursed form. But before he could say anything, a waiter nearby, who was carrying a pitcher of water, tripped and went flying, making the pitcher of water splash on Naruto. Nabiki blinked at this, as she looked at the now wet fox, who was shaking his fur and barking at the waiter furiously. Nabiki then chuckled at this, before she laughed a little. Well, that certainly explains it, she said. Naruto growled at this as he shook his fur some more, before he picked up his canteen and barked at Nabiki. Ah. Okay, that has hot water, huh? Pretty clever fish cake. I suppose you want me to help you out? Nabiki said, as she smiled coyly at Naruto. Naruto nodded at this. But before he could hand her the canteen, they heard some yelling outside. When they both looked outside, they saw Ranma in his girl form running from Shampoo, who was chasing him. Oh geez, looks like Sotome is in trouble again, Nabiki said with a sigh. Naruto sighed at this and nodded, before he took off and ran out of the restaurant. Nabiki shook her head at this, as she went to collect Naruto's clothes and bag, while also taking some of Naruto's money out of his wallet, to pay for their food, but no more than that. As she was closing Naruto's wallet, she paused as she saw a picture in the wallet and saw that it was a picture of Naruto, and what looked like a girl with green hair, and small horns on her head. They both looked to be at a park roller skating and the girl was smiling brightly, while Naruto was smiling a little, as if trying not to have fun but was failing. Huh, cute girl, Nabiki mused, as she closed the wallet and tried not to think about it, as she put the wallet in Naruto's pants, before running out of the restaurant. With Ranma. Ranma was running from Shampoo, as she tried to avoid her clubs. Ranma, you I kill. Shampoo yelled, as she swung her clubs at her, intending on killing her. Gah, will you take the hint already? Ranma yelled out, as she barely dodged the Amazon's attack. Shampoo went to attack her again, but she paused as she spotted Naruto in his cursed form running at her. Oh, Kitsune. You help me kill enemy, Shampoo said with a grin, as she picked up Naruto's cursed form, and threw him at Ranma. Ah! Get off me! Ranma yelled, as she caught Naruto and looked at him. This is how you keep her off my back, she yelled at Naruto, clearly annoyed at him. Naruto growled at this and started to bark at Ranma, clearly annoyed with her. You friends with Kitsune? Yeah, you is strong opponent, Shampoo said, as she readied her clubs to renew her attack. Naruto growled at this, as he turned to glare at Shampoo. But before anything could happen, Naruto's canteen was thrown above him as it spilled, and covered Naruto and Ranma in hot water. It, that's too hot. Ranma, now in his male form yelled, as he looked at the now human, and naked Naruto. Hey, it gets results, so quit bitching. Naruto yelled back at Ranma, as he covered himself. Shampoo's eyes widened in surprise at this, as she looked at Naruto and Ranma, while Nabiki ran over to Naruto, and threw his clothes at him. Cover yourself. We may be forced fiancés, but I still don't want you showing it off for free, Nabiki said flatly, as Naruto put on his boxers. Wait, are you saying that you care about me? Naruto asked with wide eyes, as he got dressed. No. I'm saying if you're gonna show off, at least let me collect payment first, Nabiki said with a smirk. Naruto face planted at this. Gah! I should have known, he yelled, as he got up and put on his shirt. What is this? Where is Ranma and Kitsune helper? Shampoo yelled, as she approached Naruto. Naruto sighed at this, as he figured this would come up. Look Shampoo, you know Jusenkyo, he asked her curiously, hoping she would know, since said training ground was in China. Shampoo's eyes widened at this. AI. Yeah. You both cursed, she asked, as she looked at Naruto and Ranma. Yeah. You were chasing me in my cursed form the whole time, you mad woman, Ranma said as he groaned. You're the moron that didn't avoid the business district, like I told you to, Naruto said with a flat tone at him. Ranma scowled at this, and looked at Naruto with an annoyed look at this. Yeah. I travel all way to Japan and you man whole time, Shampoo said with a groan. So which one is your fiancé now? Nabiki asked with a chuckle, as she figures she may as well ask now. It, you gold digging dash, Naruto was yelling, before he was cut off. Ai ya. This is situation that has never been seen. Must go home and see great-grandmother. Shampoo yelled, as she snapped her fingers, glad she thought of a solution. Well, don't let us keep you from leaving, Ranma said with a smile, glad to have a reason for Shampoo to leave. Wait, so you're leaving? Naruto asked curiously. No worry. I be back after great-grandmother decides what be done. So you know leave town, like with Stalker. Shampoo said, as she pointed at Naruto. Oh come on. Did my mom tell everyone? Naruto yelled out at this. This got a laugh from Ranma and a chuckle from Nabiki. Shampoo also giggled at this. I be back, see you soon, she said, before she ran off, jumping from roof to roof. Well, at least she's out of both our hair for now, Ranma said with a relieved sigh. Yeah, thank God, Naruto said, as he nodded in relief. You do realize when she comes back, one of you is most likely still her fiancé, right? Nabiki asked with a flat tone. Naruto and Ranma both froze at this, before they looked at each other. She's your problem, they both yelled, as they pointed at each other. My problem? No way, she's your problem, they yelled at each other. How do you figure? Ranma yelled back at Naruto. You fought her first. Naruto yelled at Ranma. And you beat her first as a male. So technically, you became her fiancé first. Ranma yelled back, getting in his face, not backing down. This caused Nabiki to shake her head at this, as she left the two fighters to argue over this. With Naruto. It was the weekend, and Naruto, along with his family, were at the Tendos to visit. While Naruto's parents were inside talking to the other adults, Naruto and Ranma were out in the backyard sparring, with Akane watching them, as she sat on the porch. Dude, why does your dad like being in his panda form? Naruto asked curiously, as he looked at said panda scratching his belly, while he was dodging Ranma's strike. It must be his spirit animal. My theory is that he uses it to get away with being a moron, aha. Ranma said, as he tried a low kick on Naruto, who backflipped to dodge it. That kami thing is ridiculous. Ranma yelled, as he was getting annoyed with Naruto dodging around his attacks with that move. Would you prefer I use Tekai? Naruto asked with a grin, as he pointed at Genma, who had a cast on, after he tried sparring with him. No, I'm good, Ranma said as he winced slightly, before he and Naruto started to spar again. Meanwhile, the others were watching as they drank some tea. So you're looking to open a restaurant in town, Miss Uzumaki? Kasumi asked Kushina curiously. That's the plan. All I need is a DLVRY girl, and I'll be all set, Kushina said with a smile. What about waiters, and all the rest of it? Minato asked with a raised eyebrow. I have a few already lined up, sweetie. So don't worry, Kushina said, as she patted him on the cheek with a smile. Any cook that can keep up with you needs top pay, ouch. Naruto was saying, before a cup bonked him in the head, courtesy of Kushina, which caused him to get hit by Ranma and fall to the ground. Ha! Nice skills whiskers, Nabiki said with a smirk, as Naruto groaned on the ground. Better than you, gold digger. Naruto groaned out, as he stood up. So you're a cook? Akane asked Kushina curiously. You bet I am girly. My family has been either cooks, martial artists, or a mix of both for generations, Kushina said with a prideful smile. Why do you ask Akane? Are you interested in cooking? Minato asked curiously. Ha, she wishes. She burns water when boiling it, Nabiki said with a laugh. Nabiki Akane growled out in annoyance, but didn't deny it. Well, Akane at least tries, Kasumi said with a nervous chuckle. If you want, I can teach you girly, Kushina said simply. Really? I wouldn't want to distract you from opening your restaurant, Akane said with a small smile, as she didn't want to get too excited yet. Bah, it's fine. Plus, if all goes well with the brat and your sister, we will be family. So I'm more than happy to teach you, Kushina said with a grin at Akane. I feel your love from over here, Naruto said with a flat tone, at how his mother talked about him and Nabiki. You have something to say to me, brat? If so, say it right now, Kushina yelled, as she stomped over to Naruto. While she did this, a knock on the door was heard. I'll go get it, Kasumi said with a smile, as she got up and left the room. Come on, brat, I wanna see how good you actually are at our style. You can help too if you want, Ranma, Kushina said, as she cracked her knuckles with a savage grin. Wait, Naruto's style is yours. I thought it was Mr. Uzumaki's, Ranma said with a raised eyebrow. She's the one who taught me everything that I know, Naruto said with a shrug. That include running from your ex? Nabiki asked with a smirk. I want a divorce, Naruto said flatly to Nabiki, who smirked back at him. Yep, I taught him all he knows. But not everything that I know, Kushina said. Really? I'm surprised that a girl knows Naruto's style of fighting, let alone able to teach it, Ranma said, as he placed his hands behind his head. Akane scowled at this, while Naruto groaned as he slapped his forehead. And here comes the meltdown, he muttered under his breath, while dragging his hand down his face. Kushina meanwhile, her eyebrow was twitching violently at this. Oh, is that a fact? She asked, as her hair waved behind her. ODMN, stand back, Minato said, recognizing this, as he backed away, with the others doing the same thing. Okay Satome, let me show you what a MSTR of our style can do, Kushina said with a mad grin. Sure. It can't be worse than Naruto, Ranma said, as he took a ready stance. Naruto said nothing to this, but he took out his phone and after a few swipes, what sounded like a horn playing taps could be heard. Nabiki burst out laughing at this, while Akane laughed along with her. Ranma ignored this and observed Kushina, who was in a relaxed stance. If you're not gonna attack, then I'll start, he yelled, as he charged at Kushina, and swung his fist at her. Before the fist could connect, Kushina's hair grabbed Ranma's arm and... What the, hey? Ranma yelled, as Kushina's hair started to slam Ranma on the ground repeatedly, ragdolling him. Wow, only 3 seconds, Naruto said with a nod. Lasted longer than you when she used this move on you, Minato said with a smirk. Oi, I was 8 at the time. Naruto grumbled as he crossed his arms with a huff. How is Miss Kushina doing this? Akane asked in awe of what she was seeing, along with Son and Genma. It's an advanced combination of Kami and Tekai. It allows my mom to use her hair to fight, Naruto explained, as Kushina's hair grabbed Ranma by his arms and legs, and held him up in the air. You give up yet, pigtail? Kushina asked with a grin. This isn't fair. Ranma yelled out in annoyance. If you want fair, then go and join a sports team. This is a battle, and the only rule is winning. Honor is great, but depending on that will just get you and who you care about killed, Kushina said, as her free hair behind her turned into fists, ready to pummel Ranma. I would give up Bud. Those fists can use both Sharingan and Tekai, Naruto yelled out to Ranma. Excuse me, but we have a visitor, Kasumi said, as she walked into the room with an older man close behind her. The man wore a red hat and a red tie, along with a white shirt and a blue tuxedo. Who are you? Son asked the man curiously. Call me Mr. Daikoku. I'm looking for Ranma Satome, the man said. Well, you're in luck, I'm just done humbling him, Kushina said with a smile, as she threw Ranma at Mr. Daikoku's feet. Ah, Ranma my boy. Mr. Daikoku yelled, as hugged Ranma happily. Who the heck are you? Do I know you? Ranma asked, as he tried to get loose from the excited man. Wait, you don't know? Where is Genma? He can explain it, Mr. Daikoku said as he looked around. Why are you here? Nabiki asked curiously. Genma and I have a marriage contract to settle and dash, Mr. Daikoku was saying, before getting cut off. Say what? Son and Akane yelled out at this. Of course, Naruto said with a groan, as he and the others looked around and spotted Genma in his panda form, hiding in a bush nearby, holding up a wooden sign that said, "Do not disturb the sleeping panda," on it. "You better have an explanation, Sotome." Son yelled, as he ran over and poured a whole steaming kettle of hot water on the panda. "Did you have to use boiling water, Tendo?" Genma asked with a nervous look, as he got up out of the bush. "You will get more than that, if you don't start talking," Son said with a glare. "Yeah, let's hear this." "I have a bet going to see how stupid you actually are," Naruto said with a grin. "Oh, I bet 10,000 yen that he ripped this guy off," Kushina said with a grin. "Suckers bet Ranma, Naruto and Kasumi said together. "Well, I bet 20,000 yen that he traded something for Ranma," Nabiki said. "Bet," Naruto said with a nod, figuring Genma couldn't be that stupid. "Mr. Daikoku, you may want to explain the situation, since Genma here most likely won't tell the truth," Minato said calmly to Mr. Daikoku. Very well," Mr. Daikoku said as he nodded. One explanation later. Everyone was looking at Mr. Daikoku with surprised looks at this. "Why you traded me for 3 fish and a bowl of rice?" Ranma asked Genma with an enraged look on his face, as he stomped over. "And 2 pickles," Genma said with a smile. Pow! Genma was now face first in the dirt, after Ranma had slugged him hard in the head at this. "Ha! Pay up, sucker!" Nabiki yelled with a grin, holding her hand out. "DMN gold digging girl is too cute for her own good," Naruto grumbled, as he took out his wallet. "Ah, poor baby, I'll treat you to ramen later," Nabiki said with a smile as she took the money and counted it. Naruto paused and blushed a little at this while Minato chuckled. "Oh yeah, she's definitely not the woman for you," Minato said with a chuckle. "Zip it, old man," Naruto grumbled under his breath. "Look, Mr. Daikoku, I'm afraid that Ranma is already engaged to my daughter Akane. And together, they will continue the anything goes school of martial arts." Son yelled firmly at the man. "Yeah. So if you have a problem, then take it up with Father of the Year over here," Kushina said with a scoff, as Genma struggled to get up out of the ground. "Indeed. From what I've heard, this arranged marriage was in place before Ranma was born, so I'm afraid you don't have a leg to stand on with Ranma," Naruto said firmly to the older man. If that is true, then you are right. But I still should be compensated for my time," Mr. Daikoku said with a frown. "You paid him with fish, rice and pickles. I don't think you lost out on a lot," Minato said as he shook his head. "True. But I still feel I got scammed," Mr. Daikoku said with a glare at Genma, who had got his head out of the hole, and was laid on his back. "Why do I see flying pandas?" Genma said deliriously. "Oh, you did get scammed. But rest assured, the fat panda here will be punished," Kushina said with a mad grin, as she cracked her knuckles. "Very well, I'll take my leave." "Oh, and be sure to make it hurt Miss Uzumaki," Mr. Daikoku said with a nod at Kushina, before he left the room. "You can count on it. My mom has made packs of wolves flinch," Naruto said with a chuckle, as the man left. "You can't judge me for this. I was alone, with a young child." Genma yelled out, as Kushina grabbed him with her hair, hanging him upside down as she did. "Where was his mom?" Minato asked with a glare at Genma. Genma paled at this, but said nothing. "I smell a secret," Kushina said in a sing-song voice, as she smiled at Genma in an evil way. "Where is your mom?" Naruto asked Ranma curiously. "No idea, I never thought about it. As long as I can remember, it was just me and Pops," Ranma said with a shrug. Maybe he stole you from your mom," Nabiki said with a flat tone, as she ate some chips. "I wouldn't put it past him," Naruto said with his own flat tone, as he tried to grab some chips, but Nabiki slapped his hand away. "You two are becoming more and more compatible," Son said with a chuckle at them. "It's so cute," Kasumi said with her own smile, as she held a camera up, taking a photo. "I did not steal him from his mother." Genma yelled out, as Kushina pushed him with her finger, making him swing. Then where is she? Kushina asked, as she shook Genma with her hair. I don't have to tell you a thing, you mad woman. Genma bellowed out, as he shook his head rapidly in defiance. Should we turn his room inside out, and see if he's got her address or something? Akane asked. I doubt he has anything like that. Pops has made a living covering his tracks, Ranma said with a sigh. Well, if nothing else, I can help, Minato said as he held up his hand. How so, Mr. Uzumaki? Akane asked curiously. My dad is a private detective guy. Heck, he could give Detective Conan a run for his money, Naruto said with a smile at his dad. Minato chuckled at this and nodded. Just leave it to me. I'll look into this in my spare time for you, Ranma, he said as he clapped his hand on Ranma's shoulder. I forbid it. Genma yelled, as he still hung in the air in Kushina's hair. Kushina dear, can you try to get some of Genma's DNA for me? Minato asked with a smile. How much do you need, sweetie? Kushina asked with a smile. Some hair or a tooth will do, Minato said happily. Sure thing, Kushina said, as some of her hair went to Genma's head, and grabbed some of what little hair he had, before roughly pulling it off. Yuch! Genma yelled out painfully. And now for the tooth, Kushina said with an evil grin. Mercy. Genma said feebly, as Kushina's hair turned into hands as they approached his head. Sorry, all out of mercy, Kushina said, as her hair hands turned into fists. Okay, let's go out. We don't want to see this, especially you ladies, Naruto said, as he pushed Akane and Nabiki out of the room, with Kasumi and Son close behind. Hold on, I wanna see how far your ma goes, Ranma said with a grin. Will you come on? Naruto said with a roll of his eyes, as he grabbed Ranma by the back of his shirt and dragged him out. As they all left, the sounds of blows landing and Genma yelling in pain and Kushina's laughter was heard. A few days later, Naruto was walking out of school, making his way to the school gates. Hey Naruto, where are you heading in such a hurry? Ranma asked, as he ran after Naruto. Mom is opening her restaurant soon, and she wants me to pass out flyers, Naruto said, as he held up some flyers. Oh cool. What's the name of her restaurant? Ranma asked curiously. The Rising Tide. She sells both Japanese and Chinese dishes for a variety, Naruto said, as he handed Ranma a flyer. Well, Akane has cooking class with your ma, and I have nothing to do. So let's go pass around the flyers, and then go get something to eat, Ranma said. Deal, Naruto said with a smile, as he and Ranma left the school. But their path was blocked by Kuno, who had a new Bakken ready. Oh, what now? Naruto asked with a groan. It's been a week. He needs at least one beatdown a week, so he learns, Ranma said with a flat tone. Enough, you fools. I will not lose this time. Have at dash, Kuno was saying, before. Pow! He was sent flying into the air, thanks to a double uppercut from Naruto and Ranma. That guy needs a new hobby, Ranma said with a sigh. Or at least a girlfriend that can tolerate him, Naruto said, as they walked off. If there is a girl that can put up with him, she's either a saint or a devil, Ranma said with a smirk. Naruto snorted at this, as he and Ranma passed out flyers as they walked. As they passed out flyers, Naruto noticed a figure following them from up on the rooftops. What's up? Ranma asked curiously. Wait here for a second, I need to check something, Naruto said, before he took off with his Jeppo and jumped at a nearby rooftop, and blocked the path of what looked like a man in a black one-piece suit. Naruto bonked the man on the head, and sent him flying to Ranma down below, slamming into the ground. Ow, 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 the man yelled as he held his head in pain, while rolling around on the ground. Okay wannabe ninja, who are you and why are you following us? Naruto asked, as he dropped down to them. I am the great Sasuke dash, the man was saying, before being cut off. If you say Uchiha, I swear to Kami that I'll make you into a woman, Naruto said with a growl, as he spun a kunai on his finger. I am Sasuke Sarigakure, the personal ninja of the Kuno family, you whiskered fool, the man yelled out. Oh, thank God. So, what can we do for you? Naruto said with a sigh of relief, as he put the kunai away. Bad experience? Ranma asked with a raised eyebrow. You have no idea, Naruto said with a shudder. I don't have to tell you Sasuke was saying, before he was cut off by Naruto throwing his kunai at him, barely missing his ear. The next one won't miss, Naruto said with a glare, just like his mom taught him. MSTR asked me to find out Sayatome's weakness. Sasuke yelled out, as he cried in fear. Of course he did, Ranma said with a sigh. Why would he want to know about Ranma's weakness? Naruto asked with a cocked eyebrow. 'Cause he can't win any other way, duh, Ranma said with a shrug. You dare insult my great master Sasuke was yelling in anger. Pow! Before he was sent flying, by Naruto slugging him in the head, and sending him into the dirt. I usually don't pick on weaklings, but that guy worshipping Kuno gives me a headache, Naruto said, as he and Ranma walked off. So, how are we gonna spread out all these flyers? Ranma asked curiously. I'll take half and use Jeppo to take to the sky and drop the flyers, while you take the ground, Naruto said, as he did a few squats and stretched his legs. Moments later, they were both ready to go, both holding a stack of flyers. Naruto took off into the air and started to drop flyers down to the streets below, while Ranma took off in the opposite direction. With Kushina. Kushina was inside the kitchen of her home, with Akane trying to teach her to make curry. No, no. You use white wine, not vinegar. Kushina bellowed out, as she raised a wooden spoon in the air while Akane scrambled to correct her mistake. Trying being the key word here. Kushina had only been teaching Akane for the past hour, and she was ready to pull her hair out by the roots. Sorry Miss Kushina. Akane yelled, as she tried to fix her mistakes. As she grabbed a bottle of what she thought was white wine, what she didn't notice was that it was actually Tabasco sauce. Stop, stop. Kushina yelled as she grabbed Akane's wrist, and stopped her from pouring the sauce. They then heard the doorbell go off. Minato, could you get the door please? I'm trying to avoid a disaster here. Kushina yelled, as she put the Tabasco sauce down. I'm working on a case here Kushina. Minato yelled from his private office. Kushina sighed at this and looked at Akane, who was frowning at her failure. Maybe I should just quit. Kasumi has tried teaching me and failed every time. And now you can't do it either, Akane said, as she looked down at her feet, clearly on the verge of crying. Hey, don't worry. I'm not giving up on you, we just need to slow down and start from scratch, Kushina said, as she patted her on the shoulder to comfort her. Do you really think so? Akane asked, looking up at Kushina with red eyes. Oh sure. My little sister was the same way, she couldn't learn martial arts worth a DMN. But when my pops gave her a katana, she looked like one of those samurais the brat reads about in those manga he loves, Kushina said with a smile. What happened to your sister? Akane asked curiously, as she smiled. Kushina frowned at this. The last I heard, she ran off and married some deadbeat, she said. Oh, I'm sorry, Akane said, hoping she didn't make her mad. It's fine. You should worry if I ever meet the deadbeat, who lured her away. Kushina said with a growl. At the Tendo household. Gunma was drinking some tea, when he suddenly felt a shiver run down his spine. Why do I feel like someone just walked over my grave, he thought to himself in worry. Back with Kushina. They then heard the doorbell again. Alright already. Okay, let's take a break, and I'll think up a better lesson plan for you, Kushina said, as she left the kitchen. Akane nodded at this, as she started to attempt to clean up the kitchen, so she was at least some help. Kushina walked over to the front door and opened the door, and saw it was the mailman. Aren't you late for the day, she asked with a raised eyebrow, knowing it was past noon for the mail. A special delight from China, miss, the mailman said as he held up a box. Ah. Okay, thanks, Kushina said, as she took the package and signed for it. After the mailman left, Kushina took the package into the living area. We got some mail. Who's it for? Minato asked curiously, as he came into the room holding some files. Looks like it's for the brat. It must be from Shampoo, Kushina said, pointing out the return address on the package. Looks like she's his problem now, and not Ranma's, Minato said with a chuckle, while Kushina laughed and nodded in agreement. The package then started to shake, and what sounded like yowling and hissing was heard inside. Oh geez, she sent him a pet. Minato asked with a raised eyebrow. Better a cat than a dog. Alright, hold on, Kushina said, as she ripped open the box and a blur jumped out of the box, and landed on a table nearby. Kushina and Minato looked at the table and saw a white cat with a pink-tipped tail, ears and socks. What stood out was that it had bells on its fur around its face. Oh, it's adorable. Kushina said with a smile at the cat. Meow, the cat said with a smile, as it jumped into Kushina's arms, before rubbing its head on her chin, purring happily. So we're keeping him? Minato asked curiously. The cat looked at Minato and hissed. Girl dear, Kushina said with a smile at him. Oops, sorry. How about some tuna as a sorry? Minato asked curiously. Before the cat could react, they all heard something. We're home. Naruto yelled from outside, as he and Ranma approached the front door. Meow, the cat said, as it jumped out of Kushina's arms and ran for the door. As the cat approached the door, it opened and Ranma walked in before Naruto, and the cat jumped into his arms. Hey Miss Kushina. How is teaching Akane going, huh? Ranma said, as he looked at the cat now in his hands. Meow, the cat said simply. Ag hi. Ranma screamed in terror, throwing the cat in the air. The cat meowed at this and landed in Naruto's arms. Hey, watch it. I don't like hurting animals, Naruto said with a frown, as he then looked at the cat. Hey, where did you come from? He asked with a smile at the cat. The cat smiled at this and nuzzled against Naruto, purring happily. Looks like Shampoo's gift likes you brat, Kushina said with a grin. Shampoo? Well, at least she sent a pretty kitty, Naruto said with a smile, as he scratched the cat's chin. KK, keep that thing away from me. Ranma yelled, as he backed away against a wall, shivering in fear as he did. Is that Ranma? Akane asked, as she came out of the kitchen. Yup, and he's acting like a punk but, Kushina said with a chuckle. What's your problem? It's a cat, not your dad, Naruto said with a chuckle, as he put the cat on his shoulder. I am terrified of cats, okay? Just keep it away. Ranma yelled. Naruto, Kushina, Minato and Akane looked at Ranma with surprised looks, before. Ahahahahahahaha. Naruto and Kushina burst out laughing at this. It's not funny. Ranma bellowed at Naruto and Kushina. I respectfully disagree, Naruto said with a flat tone, before he went back to laughing. Oh come on, you two stop. He's obviously terrified, Minato said, as he tried not to smirk. Okay. I'm sorry. You're right, it's not funny, Naruto said as he calmed himself, but was still smiling. Then wipe that smile off your face. Ranma bellowed at Naruto, clearly annoyed. Yeah brat, you have your own fear, Kushina said with a smile, as she calmed herself down too. Oh. What is it? Akane asked curiously. I don't fear anything to the point he is, Naruto said as he pointed at Ranma, who was hiding behind a corner, trying to avoid the gaze of the cat on Naruto's shoulder. Ghosts, Kushina said simply. Where? Naruto bellowed out in terror, as he looked around him rapidly. This got a snort of laughter from Ranma and Akane. And you're giving me CRP about fear. At least mine is real. Ranma yelled at Naruto with a smug grin. Naruto scowled at this but said nothing, before he held up the cat on his shoulder, and put her in Ranma's face. Aha! Ranma screamed in terror, as he took off running, right through a wall, leaving an imprint of his body as he ran. You're paying for that brat, Kushina said with an annoyed look at the hole in her wall. Worth it, Naruto said with a grin of victory. Well, you better not let Kuno find out, or he'd use it against him, Minato said firmly to Naruto. Oh come on Dad, I'm not cruel like Mom, Naruto said with a shake of his head, before Kushina slapped him on the back of his head. Why would Kuno care what Ranma is terrified of? Akane asked with a cocked eyebrow. 'Cause he's a petty idiot, who would use this against him, Naruto said with a frown, as he rubbed the back of his head. Unseen to them all, Sasuke was watching from a tree out in the backyard, and he giggled in victory, as he took off to go tell his MSTR what he had discovered. Okay Naruto, go with Akane and calm Ranma down. And find out why he's freaking out, Kushina said firmly. And leave the cat here, Minato said firmly. Naruto nodded at this, as he picked up the cat off his shoulder, and handed it to Kushina. The cat started to meow in protest at this, and tried to get loose from Kushina. It looks like she doesn't want you to leave, Kushina said with a smile. I'll be back, don't worry. I'll even name you later, okay? Naruto said with a kind smile, as he petted the cat in the head. The cat smiled at this and gained hearts in her eyes, as Naruto left with Akane. Okay Minato, you go take Naruto's new groupie to his room, while I start dinner, Kushina said, as she passed the cat to Minato, making him drop the files he was holding. Watch it. That is information on Genma. I haven't read it all yet, Minato said with a frown. How is finding his wife going? Kushina asked curiously. It shouldn't take too long. But not if you make me drop more of my files, Minato said with an annoyed look. Kushina rolled her eyes at this, but nodded as she left Minato to go to the kitchen. Minato sighed at this, as he carried the cat off. Unknown to him, one of his files was opened and it had a picture of a red-headed woman, with the name Nodaka Satome/Uzumaki under her picture. With Naruto. Naruto was running with Akane towards the Tendo house, looking for Ranma, who had taken off after Naruto had shoved his new cat in the pigtailed boy's face. As they entered the house, they heard Ranma yelling out from the backyard. They both ran into the living room, and saw Ranma on the ground shivering, surrounded by cats, as Genma was nearby crying, while Kasumi and Nabiki were at the table watching. Let me guess, it's Genma's fault, isn't it? Naruto asked with a dry tone. No idea, since he hasn't said yet. Wanna make another bet, fish cake? Nabiki asked with a confident grin. I bet he did something that is King Moron level, Naruto said with a confident tone. Oh please, Nabiki said with a scoff, as that would require two impartial witnesses to agree it's that stupid. How did I raise such a pathetic son, with such a disgraceful weakness? Genma asked as he wept, while Ranma shivered in fear. Before he grabbed Genma by his shirt, and pressed his face against his. This is your fault, you idiot. Ranma yelled, as he shook Genma. Before Genma held up a cat to Ranma's face. Gah! Ranma yelled, as he ran into the backyard and jumped into a tree to hide. You do realize cats can climb trees, right? Naruto asked, as the cats followed Ranma curiously. Wait, they can. Ranma yelled in shock. How did this happen? Akane asked Genma, as he got up after Ranma dropped him. It is a long tale, my dear, Genma said, as he sat down to explain. One explanation later. Everyone was looking at Genma with surprised looks at the explanation Genma had just given them. So, to sum it all up, when Ranma was a kid, you tried to teach him the forbidden cat fist technique, which involved you wrapping him in fish sausage, and lowering him into a pit of starving cats. Akane asked Genma, while Naruto's eyebrow was twitching violently. Yes, and I was so determined, I repeatedly tried again, with all kinds of different fish products, Genma said, as he sat back with his arms crossed. You really are a moron, aren't you? Nabiki asked with a flat tone, while Naruto got up and went into the backyard, and grabbed a big boulder from the koi pond in the yard. Nabiki, he's our elder, Kasumi said with a slight frown. Yes, I am a wise elder and deserve some respect, even with the few mistakes I make, Genma said with a huff. If you're wise, you should duck, Nabiki said with a smirk. Huh, what are you on about? Genma asked, not seeing Naruto behind him with the boulder raised high. Crash. 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 Genma was now in a crater, with his feet sticking out and twitching, while the boulder Naruto had smashed him with was split in half. Wow, you only had to hit him 3 times to split the boulder fish cake, Nabiki said, after she whistled impressively. He must have a thick head, which is no surprise, with how stupid he is, Naruto said with a scowl, as he looked up at Akane. Please get the cats out of here, while I try and get Ranma down, he said to her. Akane nodded at this, and walked over to the cats to guide them out of the yard. Ranma, you can come down now. The kitties are gone, Kasumi said to Ranma. Yeah, come on buddy. And don't worry, I'm not gonna mock you for this anymore, Naruto said as he looked up at Ranma, who was still in the tree. I don't need your pity, ghost boy. Ranma yelled out, hating that his pride was pretty much gone at this point. Where? Naruto yelled, as he looked around rapidly. Oh, ho, ho. Is the big bad Naruto Uzumaki afraid of ghosts? Nabiki asked with a smirk at Naruto. And you thought Ranma's cat fear was pathetic? Ahahaha. Genma said, as he slowly got up from the crater. Naruto's eyebrow twitched violently at this, as he cracked his knuckles, while walking over to Genma. Pow! Before he kicked Genma hard in the butt, sending him flying out of the backyard. And he's blasting off, Nabiki said with a snicker. Okay, he's definitely a king-level moron, so pay up. Naruto yelled at Nabiki, holding his hand out to her. Nabiki froze at this, as she had forgotten this bet with all the beat-downs and Ranma screaming. Sorry Nabiki, but while Genma is our elder, this is pretty bad, Kasumi said as she sighed, with her hand on her cheek. Yeah, I gotta agree with Kasumi, Akane said, as she nodded in agreement. Nabiki looked at Naruto, who was smirking in victory, as he made the pay-up gesture, waiting for the money. Nabiki clenched her fists at this, before she sighed and took out some bills, and handed them to Naruto. You won this time, fish cake, she said with a slight frown. Happy to do business with you, Naruto said with a grin, as he counted the money as he left. Nabiki watched Naruto leave with a scowl, before she saw her sisters looking at her with smiles. What? She asked them with a raised eyebrow. You usually would just use a technicality, if you lost a bet, Akane said with a teasing tone. You must like him, if you just paid him instead of cheating him, Kasumi said with a happy smile, nodding in agreement. Nabiki growled at this, not willing to admit to this. Wow, the Ice Queen actually likes someone? Ranma asked, as he started to climb down from the tree. Before Nabiki threw a rock at him, nailing him in the head, making Ranma fall into the koi pond, turning him into a girl. Back at Naruto's. Naruto walked into his house with a grin, as he took off his shoes and placed them in the cubby near the door. Is that you, brat? Kushina yelled out, as Naruto walked past the door to the living room. Yeah, it's me, Naruto said, as he looked inside the living room and saw his mom sitting with an older woman. She was a little small, with long white hair that reached the floor, and wore a green robe, with red outlines. Who's the old mummy? Naruto asked, seeing the older woman. The old woman then jumped at Naruto, and smacked him in the head with her walking stick. Youch! What the hell, you old bat? Naruto yelled, as he held his head. This old bat is Shampoo's great-grandmother brat, Kushina said with a chuckle. So she's an elder mummy? Naruto asked with a snicker, before the old woman swung at his head with her walking stick again, but when it struck his head again, the cane broke. The old woman looked at her broken cane with a critical eye, before she looked at Naruto. It would seem you are further along in your training with Kushina, than I thought you would be, if you're this far along with your tekite, Shampoo's grandma said. You expected anything less from my brat, Cologne? Kushina asked with a raised eyebrow. Excuse me, but are all the ladies of your family named after hair products? Naruto asked with a cocked eyebrow. Amazon names are roughly translated to hair products, Kushina said with a chuckle. You are your mother's son. She asked the same thing when we met, my future son-in-law, Cologne said with a chuckle at Naruto. Naruto nodded at this, before he paused at what Cologne called him. Oh geez. Let me guess, you decided it's me who's Shampoo's fiancé, according to your laws? He asked, as he slapped his forehead before dragging his hand down his face. Indeed, son-in-law, Cologne said, as she nodded with a chuckle. Well, forget it, hag. I have enough CRP to deal with living here, and while Shampoo is nice, I'm not gonna marry her. I barely know her, Naruto said, as he turned to leave. Get washed up for dinner, brat. You smell like a litter box. Kushina yelled after him. This isn't over, son-in-law, Cologne yelled after him. Then why am I walking away? Naruto yelled back at her, as he slammed the door to the bathroom. Unseen to him, the cat that Shampoo had sent him was clawing at the door to the bathroom, before she got it open and snuck in. Cologne chuckled at this with a knowing smile. Okay Bachan, I know that look. What are you planning? Kushina asked with a chuckle. Let's just say that my great-granddaughter and your boy have something in common, Cologne said. Kushina raised an eyebrow at this and thought about it for a moment, before her eyes widened in realization. Oh, you are evil, she said, before she started to laugh hard, along with Cologne. With Naruto. Naruto was now in the tub and sighed with his eyes closed, as the hot water helped him relax. Meow. Naruto opened his eyes, as he looked at the door and saw the cat Shampoo had sent him. Oh, hey kitty. Sorry, I promised to give you a name. Well, give me time, I'll have one by the time I'm done in my hot bath, Naruto said with a smile at the cat. The cat smiled at this, before she jumped into the tub in front of Naruto. Before Naruto could react, in a splash a figure stood up out of the tub. Naruto's eyes widened at this, as he saw it was a very NDE Shampoo. Shampoo, he yelled in shock at the Chinese Amazon. Niho, future husband. Should we have a bath together? Shampoo asked with a smile as she hugged Naruto, not noticing how embarrassed Naruto was with this situation. With Minato. Minato was walking out of his office and making his way to the living room, with a file he had finally found. Iye! Naruto yelled out, as he ran out of the bathroom, wearing a towel around his waist. Minato blinked at this, as he heard his wife laughing madly. Naruto, run. Shampoo yelled from the bathroom, as she came out wearing a towel over her chest. Minato blinked at this, before he realized what most likely happened. Hello Shampoo. I'm gonna guess you were that cat, he asked, figuring he should trust his detective instincts. Indeed, future father-in-law, Shampoo said with a smile as she nodded. It's not funny, woman. My heart is in my throat. Naruto was heard yelling in the living room. Yeah, you're right, it's hilarious. Kushina yelled with a cackle. Minato sighed at this. Shampoo, please go get dressed. I believe Kushina has some clothes from her Amazon days in her closet in a box, he said, as he pointed at his and Kushina's room. Oh, Lady Kushina's Amazon clothes. This is big honor. Shampoo said with a smile, as she went into the room. Minato chuckled at this, as he went into the living room. Okay son, I directed your new pet to where she can get some clothes. Now. Go get dressed, he said with a chuckle. You're on my list too, after your wife, old man. Naruto bellowed, as he growled and left the living room. That brat is starting to sound like Genma's brat, Kushina said with a scowl at Naruto's mouth. Well, Kushi, there's a reason for that, Minato said, as he held up the file he was holding. Oh, this must be bad if you're calling me Kushi, Kushina said, with a suspicious look at her husband. Minato handed the file to Kushina, before he looked at Cologne. Ah, Miss Cologne, it's nice to see you again. I'm guessing Naruto is the one who you decided fell under the marriage rule, he asked. Of course. I love the idea of me and my favorite student being family, Cologne said with a smile. What the F is this? Are you kidding me? Kushina bellowed out angrily, as she looked at the file Minato had given her. What happened? Mom find out her favorite hair dye got discontinued? Naruto asked, as he came back fully dressed, with Shampoo right behind him, also fully dressed. Naruto then ducked as a lamp flew over his head, and smashed into the wall. Now is not the time to test me, brat. Kushina bellowed, as her hair waved behind her. Oh geez, who's gonna die? Naruto asked Minato. I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count, Minato said, as he crossed his arms. She found out Genma put Ranma through the cat fu training. Naruto asked curiously. He did what now? Kushina shouted, as she stood up. What foolish moron would do that? Cologne asked with a glare at this. My buddy Ranma's dad said he did it, when Ranma was 5. Naruto was saying, before getting cut off. I'm gonna kill that fat panda. Kushina bellowed, as she ran at the door and punched her way through it, before running off down the street. The door was open. Naruto yelled after her. Not the time, Naruto, Minato said, as he sighed and picked up the file Kushina dropped. What is it? Naruto asked, as Minato handed him the file. Naruto read it, and after a few moments, his hand started to shake. Arian? What wrong? Shampoo asked curiously. I'm gonna skin him, and make him into a panda rug. Naruto bellowed, as he took off after his mom, also smashing through a wall, before running after his mother. Yeah. What make them so mad? Shampoo asked, as she looked at the damage left behind. Definitely got Kushina's temper when pushed, Cologne said with a shake of her head. At the Tendo household. Everyone was sitting down for dinner, before the doorbell rang. Oh my, a guest this late? Kasumi said in surprise, as she got up to go answer the door. Before she could leave the living room, the sliding door opened and Kushina and Naruto were there. Oh, Miss Uzumaki and Naruto. What brings you here? Akane asked them curiously. Kushina and Naruto looked at Genma, and as they glared at him, what looked like an evil aura appeared behind both Uzumaki. Oh, this will be good, Nabiki said with a grin, as she backed off a bit, so she wasn't in their way at all. Actually, we were hoping to eat with you all tonight, since me and Nabiki are engaged, Naruto said, as he walked over to Genma and pushed Ranma aside, before he sat next to Genma, who was eating and not paying attention. That's a wonderful idea. Please, sit down. We will get you both a plate, Son said with a smile. Gladly, Kushina said with a hard tone, as she sat on Genma's other side, so there would be no escape for him. Everyone else, but the oblivious Son and Gemma sweat dropped at this. As they could tell, this was way more than a nice visit. So Genma, tell me, how is Nodoka doing these days? Kushina asked with a smile, as she took her bowl of rice from Kasumi. Yeah, tell me about your wife. I'm really curious what she's like, Naruto said with his own smile, as he cracked his knuckles. Ah, my wife is a very appealing and kind woman. She came from a family of cooks. I think she said she had a sister that she loved, but was very scary and brash. Wait, how do you know my wife's name? Genma said with a smile, before he looked at Kushina curiously. This got silence as the Tendos, besides Son, eyes widened at this, as they put it all together. Oh my, Kasumi said, as she placed her hand on her cheek. And I thought he was dumb before, Nabiki said with a sigh, as she did a prayer for Genma. I don't get it, Ranma said, as he rolled his head curiously. Akane sighed at this, cursing Genma for being that bad an influence. Don't worry cousin, you will, Naruto said with a smile at him. Ranma paused at this and his eyes widened, as Genma choked on his food. See cousin? Genma asked, as he paled, as he thought about all the stories his wife told him about her sister. Smash! Genma was sent flying out into the backyard, as Kushina had smashed him in the side of the head with her bowl of rice. Yeah, that's right, but I'm Nodoka's sister, and I was pretty sad that my sister ran off with some deadbeat, and I made a list of what I would do to him, if I ever met him, Kushina said, as she stood up and stomped over to him. Didn't she already hurt him pretty badly a few times already? Akane asked with a tilt of her head. Would you believe that was her just annoyed? Naruto asked, as he glared at Genma. Wait a minute. I can explain. Genma yelled, as he waved his hands wildly. Don't bother praying to your god panda boy, you're mine. Kushina bellowed, as she jumped at Genma with a battle cry, as she started to beat Genma up, this time way worse than before. So you're my cousin? Ranma asked Naruto curiously. Yup. Guess we know where your girl's side got that red hair, huh? Naruto asked with a smile, as he calmly ate his food, while ignoring the cries of pain and flesh hitting flesh in the backyard. Ranma scoffed at this, but nodded as he went back to his food, ignoring his father's pleas for mercy and Kushina's screams of never. A few days later. Naruto was running to school and smiled, as he spotted Ranma and Akane running towards the school too. Hey cuz, how is Uncle Fat but healing up? Naruto asked with a grin. Ranma snorted at this, while Akane smiled at this nickname. No really, I want to know, so I can send mom back for a follow-up beating, Naruto said, as he walked next to them. Well, he still sees 3 of everything, so he can't leave his bed still, Ranma said as they walked. Normally I would respect my elders, but I'm surprised Miss Kushina left him alive, Akane said. Me too, but I guess mom is good with just beating on him regularly. By the way, she told me to tell you, you get free meals at her restaurant cuz, Naruto said with a smile at Ranma. Alright. Your mom's food is the best. Ranma said with a smile, pumping his fist in the air. She said to consider it her way of making up for missing out on all your birthdays up to now, Naruto said with a shrug. And she wants to stick it to Genma, by feeding him her food, when he can't ever have it, Akane said, with a knowing smile. If this is her way of making up for missing my birthdays, then what about all those Christmas she missed? Ranma asked with a grin. Naruto laughed at this. We can ask her after school, when we go to her restaurant, he said, as they walked through the school gates. As they entered the school, they all approached their getabekos, and saw that there was a note in Ranma's. Ranma took the note and read it, and after a few moments, he looked at Akane. Hey, you know anything about this? He asked, showing her the letter. Akane looked at the note, and gained a bewildered look at it. What? What does it say? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow, as he took the note and looked at it. It said, Dear Ranma, I have been kidnapped. Please save me. I'll be in the gymnasium from Akane, with the note having a small heart at the end. Naruto gained a flat look at this. Okay, whoever sent this is a moron. Akane is right here, he yelled, as he pointed at Akane. That, and I know Akane. She wouldn't write a note like this, Ranma said with a scoff. Akane's eyebrow twitched in annoyance at this, as while she did agree, she didn't like it being pointed out that she wasn't girly. Well cuz, let's go to the gymnasium and go save your fiancé, Naruto said with a grin. Sounds good to me. Let's save Akane. Ranma said with his own grin, as they both walked off. I'm right here, you morons. Akane yelled after them, as she ran after them. Hey Ranma, I think I heard Akane yell, oh please Ranma, save me. Did you? Naruto asked with a snicker. I think I hear it too, Ranma said with a grin, as they approached the doors to the gymnasium, and opened it. Inside the gymnasium, it was dark except for a spotlight on Sasuke, who was dressed in Akane's school uniform. Save me, Ranma! Sasuke yelled in a really bad imitation of Akane. Wow, Naruto said with a flat tone at this. Oh god, what happened? Someone beat Akane with an ugly stick. Ranma yelled in mock horror. Pfft. Naruto snorted at this, before he laughed loudly along with Ranma. Akane's eyebrow twitched violently at this, as she cracked her knuckles. Pow! Both Naruto and Ranma were on the floor with lumps on their heads, while Akane stomped towards Sasuke. Your girl is making me appreciate the gold digger, cuz, Naruto groaned out, as he held his head. Oh really? Nabiki asked with a smug grin, as she announced her presence behind them. Gah! Don't do that. Why are you here, did the moron kidnap you too? Naruto yelled, as he jumped to his feet. Oh please, I saw you all heading here and I figured I could sell tickets to the beatdown, Nabiki said, as she rolled her eyes. Naruto, did you learn to duplicate yourself? Ranma asked deliriously, looking at Naruto. Ah, save me Ranma! Sasuke yelled out, still using a bad Akane imitation, as Akane grabbed him and started to shake him. Snap out of it cuz, we need to stop Akane from killing that idiot, Naruto said, as he pulled Ranma to his feet. Why? Ranma asked, as he shook his head. Just move, Naruto said, as he pushed Ranma up to the stage, where Sasuke was being shaken by Akane. When the two martial artists approached, Sasuke pulled on a rope, which made a tarp above them fall away, making a bunch of cats fall and surround all of them. Ranma froze at this, as he started to shiver in fear. Oh, what's the matter, you're afraid of kitties? You're not a chicken, are you? Sasuke asked with a smug grin. Oh, you are dead, you little dash, Naruto growled out, as he approached Sasuke. What are you kidding? You think I'm afraid of cats? Ahahahaha. Ranma laughed out, as he still shivered in fear, despite his words. Sasuke's eyes widened in surprise at this. Wait, not even a little, he asked. No. Ranma yelled out in defiance. Then why are you shaking? Nabiki asked with an unimpressed tone. Cause I'm cold. Come on Akane, let's get out of here. Ranma yelled, as he dragged Sasuke away. Oi, Naruto said with a sigh, as he pinched his nose at this. I'm right here, you idiot. Akane yelled at Ranma. Who are you calling an idiot, you Tom Dash? Ranma was yelling at Akane, before he bumped into something big and tall, and when he looked at it, he saw it was a tiger, making him freeze and start to shake more violently. Are you shitting me, you idiot? Naruto yelled at Sasuke, grabbing him and shaking him violently. I thought he would be scared of it. Sasuke yelled, as Naruto shook him. Who wouldn't be scared of a full-grown tiger? Nabiki yelled at Sasuke. The tiger growled at Ranma, as he shook in terror, as the tiger approached him while the other cats surrounded him. The tiger got in Ranma's face and sniffed at him. Ranma froze at this, before he took a slumped stance. Meowed, Ranma said, as he held out his hands, like they were claws. Oh geez, this will go well, Naruto said, as he pulled Akane and Nabiki away from the area. Outside the gymnasium. Kuno was approaching the gym with a bright smile on his face, while there were other students surrounding the gymnasium. Finally, I will defeat the vile Ranma Satomu, and then I will go after Uzumaki. Witness my greatest achievement, my fellow students. Kuno yelled, as he approached the door. Before it exploded, as the tiger, now covered in scratch marks, crashed through it, slamming into Kuno, sending him to the ground. What is this, Sasuke? Kuno yelled, as the tiger was shaking in fear. A scratched-up Sasuke ran over to Kuno. Satomu has gone crazy mstr. Sasuke yelled out, as he hid behind Kuno. Kuno looked at the gymnasium door, as Ranma walked out on all fours, yowling in anger at this. "Have at thee, vile villain!" Kuno yelled, as he jumped at Ranma with his Bakken raised. Ranma yowled at this, before he scratched at Kuno, slashing his Bakken to pieces as if it was scratched by a cat. "What is this madness?" Kuno yelled, before Ranma attacked him, the tiger and Sasuke, making a dust cloud. "Well, this is definitely a 9.5 on my weird SHTO meter," Naruto said, as he, Akane and Nabiki walked out of the gymnasium, and watched the now cat-like Ranma easily beat up Kuno, the tiger and Sasuke all at once. "This is cat fu?" Akane asked Naruto curiously, figuring he was the one to ask. "From what I am seeing, yes. Though the cool factor is kinda lowered with Satomu acting like a cat," Nabiki said with a sigh, as Ranma ran off meowing, leaving a beaten Kuno and Sasuke, as he climbed up a tree and sat on a tree branch. "We should probably call my mom or the old mummy, they may know how to calm him down," Naruto said, as he looked up at the tree branch Ranma was sitting in, while he slept like a cat. Akane approached the tree. "Here kitty kitty. The mean morons are gone," she said kindly. Ranma woke up and looked down at Akane, before he meowed and jumped down at her. "Akane, get back!" Naruto was saying, before he paused as Ranma sat in Akane's lap, purring happily. "Oh, this is too good," Nabiki said with a smirk, as she took out her phone to record this. "I want a copy of that," Naruto said with a snicker, as he definitely was gonna use this to tease Ranma later. "It's gonna cost you about 1,000 yen, Nabiki said with a grin. "Only 1,000? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow, wondering what Nabiki's game was. Fiancé discount, Nabiki said with a shrug. The other students watched this and chuckled, as the purring Ranma sat in Akane's lap. "Of course he would calm down when near his fiancée," one of the girls said with a giggle, along with some other girls. It's not like that. "Come on Ranma, you're making a scene," Akane was saying, before Ranma nuzzled against her face, causing their lips to meet. This got wide eyes from everyone at this, as this was pretty much a kiss. "Oh wow, he's never gonna live this one down," Naruto said with a wince, as this was as bad as it got in terms of embarrassing. 3, 2, 1, Nabiki said, as Akane started to shake. "Ranma, you idiot!" Akane yelled, before she got up and booted Ranma, sending him flying. "So, does this mean the honeymoon is over?" Naruto asked with a snicker. Akane growled at Naruto at this, making him jump back in fear, and hide behind Nabiki. "I would watch your back fish cake, you don't want to make it worse," Nabiki said with a chuckle. "Worse? How can this get worse? We're in the 7th circle of hell in terms of chaos," Naruto asked Nabiki. "Space." Out in space, a giant yellow spaceship with brown tiger stripes was hovering over Earth. Inside the ship was a young female. She had long bluish-green hair that had small horns sticking out of the top of her head. She was also wearing a tiger-striped bikini, panty, and boots, and she was sitting at the controls, and after a few moments the screen showed a picture of Naruto with Nabiki. "Oh, there's my darling. Wait, is he cheating on me?" the alien girl yelled out, as what looked like electricity sparked from her hair, as it changed colors. Later, with Naruto. Naruto was walking home from school, after the long day of dealing with Kuno's attempt to use Ranma's fear of cats to beat him, Ranma going nuts and getting sent flying by Akane after he accidentally kissed her, while he was in cat mode. As Naruto walked, he heard some yelling nearby, which caused him to sigh in annoyance. "Well, I may as well go see what the fuss is about," he said, before he took off via moonwalk, to where he heard the yelling coming from. He soon spotted a disheveled Ranma, whose clothes were dirty and torn, running from Kuno and Ryoga, who were yelling as they chased him. Naruto groaned at this, before he shot at them, deciding to help, since Ranma was family and like his mom said, "You don't turn on family, kick their butt." Sure, drive them crazy absolutely, but never abandon them. Naruto dropped down behind Ranma, and blocked the path of Kuno and Ryoga. "Okay, why are you two after Ranma?" Naruto demanded to know. He defiled the great Akane Tendo's lip. Kuno yelled, as he waved his Bakken. Yeah, what he said. Ryoga yelled, as he held up his umbrella. Naruto sighed at this, as he shook his head. Alright, listen. I'm tired and hungry, and me and my cousin here have an appointment at my mom's restaurant. So you get one warning, before I kick your butt and in your case, turn you into bacon, P-chan, he said with a pointed look at Ryoga. Ryoga froze at this, before he glared at Ranma. You told him, he bellowed in a rage. I didn't say a thing, you moron. Ranma yelled at Ryoga. Yeah, I'm not a moron, unlike the wannabe Ronin, Naruto said, as he jerked his thumb at Kuno. I refuse to be stopped by you Uzumaki, and I will gladly vanquish you in Sotome. Kuno yelled, as he raised his Bakken. Naruto sighed at this, before he looked at Kuno. Alright Kuno, let's get this over, what the hell is that, he bellowed in a panic, as he pointed behind Kuno. What? Kuno asked, as he looked where Naruto was pointing, before Naruto slammed his foot into his side and sent him flying into a tree nearby, which split in half and fell onto Kuno. Naruto then lowered his foot and looked at Ryoga. How about you, piggy? Do you want to go wee all the way home, he asked, as he raised his finger in a threatening way. Ryoga growled at this insult, but before he could respond, he was splashed from behind with some water, which was sent at him by a puddle being splashed by a passing bike, which turned him into his pig form. Dang, I wanted to see how much punishment this idiot could take, Naruto said with a smirk, as he lowered his finger. Ryoga squealed at Naruto and Ranma, clearly annoyed at this turn of events. Yeah. Look piggy, you can fight Ranma later, but not today. He's had a long day, and so have I, Naruto said as he nodded at Ranma, before they walked away from Ryoga, who continued to squeal angrily at them. Are you doing okay? Naruto asked Ranma as they walked. Well apparently, according to those two morons, I kissed Akane while I was in cat mode, Ranma grumbled, as he looked at the ground and lightly blushed. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened, right before Akane booted you out of the area, Naruto said as he nodded. Ranma groaned at this, as he shook his head. Well, at least you didn't land in any water, Naruto said with a smile. Trying to cheer him up. I did, Ranma said with an annoyed tone. Ouch. Would it help if I told you it turns out Shampoo is my problem now? Naruto asked curiously. This made Ranma look at Naruto with wide eyes. Yeah. It turns out, her great-grandmother is friends with my mom, and she likes the idea of my mom and her being family, Naruto said with a sigh. This made Ranma get on his hands and knees, before bowing to Naruto many times while saying, thank you, over and over again. Oh stop, you're sounding like Uncle Fat Ass, when he's begging my mom to stop hitting him, Naruto said with a snicker, as they approached a building, with a sign that said, The Rising Tide, which had several people leaving it happily. This is your mom's restaurant? Wow, it looks like it's pretty popular, Ranma said, as he saw more people enter the restaurant before them. Yeah, let's get something, as you could use a meal. Oh, and don't worry Mr. Kitty, she has fish, Naruto said with a smirk, as he entered the restaurant. Ha, Ranma said with a flat tone, as he followed his cousin inside. But paused as he spotted Akane, sitting at the bar with Kushina. Ah, if it isn't my favorite nephew. I heard you had an exciting day, Kushina said with a teasing smile. Mum, he's your only nephew, so how can he be your favorite? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Shampoo, Naruto is here. Kushina yelled, ignoring Naruto and yelling into the back where the kitchen was. Iron. Shampoo's voice was heard yelling, before she ran from the back and tackled Naruto into a hug. USCK. Naruto yelled at Kushina, before he groaned as Shampoo hugged him tightly. You come to visit Shampoo? Shampoo asked Naruto as she smiled. It's my mom's restaurant, Shampoo. Why are you here? Naruto asked, as he got loose from her grip. Future mother-in-law make great-grandmother manager of restaurant, and I'm DLVRY girl and waitress, Shampoo said, as she smiled. Of course, Naruto said as he glared at Kushina, who was smiling at them. Ranma and Akane were looking away from each other, both feeling awkward after what happened today at school. Okay Akane, take this and go home. I'll deal with Ranma, Kushina said, as she passed Akane a takeout bag of food. Thanks Miss Kushina, Akane said, as she nodded at her before she left, trying to avoid Ranma's eyes. Oh, she definitely likes you cuz, Naruto said with a snicker, as Akane left the restaurant. Before a wooden spoon nailed him in the forehead, courtesy of Cologne, who poked her head out from the kitchen window. Oi! What the hell, you old ghoul! Naruto yelled, as he held his head. Don't make things worse for your cousin, son-in-law. Now, follow me. I want to teach you something, Cologne said, as she pointed to the back door with her cane. What could you possibly teach me? Naruto asked with an annoyed tone. Go brat, me and Ranma need to talk, Kushina said firmly. Naruto sighed at this, before he followed Cologne, with Shampoo close behind him. Ranma looked at Kushina nervously, as he had a bad feeling what her reaction was gonna be to him kissing Akane. Oh, relax will ya? I'm not mad at you, Kushina said, as she gestured for Ranma to sit down at the bar. You're not. I thought you were gonna rant about how I was a disgrace or something, Ranma said, as Kushina handed him a menu. What do you take me for the fat panda? I'm an actual parent, unlike that moron, Kushina said with a scowl at the thought of Genma. Ranma smiled at this, as he sighed in relief. So, I have to ask, do you remember anything when you go all cat-like? Kushina asked curiously. No, I don't remember anything from when I act like a cat. All I remember is being surrounded by cats and a tiger, and the next thing I know, I'm in a pool and in my girl form, Ranma said, as he looked at his menu. Kushina nodded at this, as she had a feeling this was the case. Well, despite that, you should still apologize to Akane when you get back home, she told him. But it wasn't my dash, Ranma was saying, before Kushina raised her hand to stop him. I know that, but look at it from Akane's point of view, suddenly taking her first kiss in front of everyone at school, Kushina said firmly. Ranma said nothing to this, but looked down at the table, as he hadn't considered that. Look, I know this whole engagement thing is a pain, but you obviously at least care about her, as at least a friend, right? Kushina asked him. Ranma thought about this, and after a few moments he nodded, as he did think of Akane as a friend at least. Well then, you know what you have to do, right? Kushina asked. Yeah, I have to apologize, Ranma said, as he knew if he was a real friend, he should at least apologize. Good. Also, free advice, if she asks if it could have been anyone that you would have kissed, tell her you only calm down around someone you trust, Kushina said, nodding at Ranma. Ranma paused at this and nodded in agreement. Wait, how did you know about that? He asked curiously. I made your deadbeat dad make a list of everything he did while raising you, and that whole cat fist CRP was its own book, Kushina growled out in annoyance. Ranma nodded at this, as he figured she would make his dad talk, after she beat the hell out of him. Gah! This technique is stupid. Naruto was heard yelling in pain from the back outside. Okay, while I make you some food, why don't you go see what your cousin is attempting to learn? Maybe you can figure it out before him, Kushina said with a smile at her nephew. Ranma nodded at this, as he went out through the backyard. When he got there, he saw that Cologne and Shampoo were next to a campfire and Naruto was on the ground, rolling around trying to put the fire out on his sleeves. Auntie, Naruto is on fire. Ranma yelled into the restaurant. I'm on it. Kushina yelled, before she ran out with a bucket of water which she splashed on Naruto, resulting in him turning into his kitsune form. Ah, so this is your cursed form, Cologne mused, as Naruto barked at Kushina, clearly annoyed at her. Yeah, brat. Looks like you didn't get the chestnut fist right away, did you? Kushina asked with a smirk at her now kitsune son. Chestnut fist? Ranma asked curiously as he looked at Cologne with a raised eyebrow, while Shampoo picked up Naruto. Eren is too cute as Kitsune, Shampoo said as she smiled at Naruto, and scratched his ear. Naruto tried to not enjoy this, but it was really hard as Shampoo found a good spot, making Naruto close his eyes while kicking his back leg slightly. "Oh, this is too good," Kushina said with a grin, as she took out her phone and took a picture of it. Naruto barked at this, and growled at his mother. Meanwhile, Ranma was watching Cologne demonstrate the technique that she was trying to teach Naruto. "Are you sure it's okay to show me this?" Ranma asked Cologne, knowing this was probably an Amazon secret technique. "You're technically an Uzumaki, so I have no problem teaching you along with my future great-grandson son-in-law," Cologne said, as she waved her hand dismissively. Ranma smiled at this and nodded, before he tried to perform the technique by snatching the chestnuts out of the fire, and needing to be put out when he caught on fire. A week later. Naruto was running to school, after waking up late cause he was up training late. It took him and Ranma a while, but eventually they had mastered the chestnut fist. Though Naruto's hands were covered in bandages, thanks to the burns he got from the fire. As he approached the school gates, he spotted Nabiki nearby. "Hey Gold Digger, how've you been?" he called out in greeting. "Better than you. Guess you were learning that trick along with Satomu," Nabiki said, seeing Naruto's bandages. "Yes, but we finally have it mastered," Naruto said with a chuckle, before he winced a little at the pain in his hands. Nabiki sighed at this, before she took off her backpack and took out a small container. "Come here," she said, as she grabbed his hand and pulled him to a bench nearby. "Ow. Ow. Ow. Oi, watch it, I'm still tender." Naruto whined, as Nabiki sat him down on the bench. "Oh, quit your whining fish cake, or I won't put this ointment on your hands," Nabiki said, as she removed the bandages on his hands. Naruto blinked in surprise at this, as Nabiki rubbed some ointment on his hands, making him wince a little. Trying to be a tough guy, Nabiki mused, as she chuckled at Naruto trying to act tough. "I am tough. I learned that Amazon technique, didn't I?" Naruto asked, feeling some pride in the fact he learned this technique. "Well, if you're so tough, why did you have to move to avoid your ex?" Nabiki asked with a smirk. Naruto stopped smiling at this, before he pouted. "That's a low blow," he grumbled out, giving her the stink eye. "Hey, an opponent as mentality worthy as you, I need to take whatever edge I can," Nabiki said with a smile, as she applied more ointment to his other hand. Naruto said nothing to this, as he didn't have a response to this. "So, if she wasn't your ex, what was she then?" Nabiki asked curiously. Naruto sighed at this. "It's a long story. I got into this thing to help the planet, and ended up with her chasing me, thinking that I proposed to her," he said. "So, she's a worse Shampoo?" "Wow, you have a type," Nabiki said with a giggle at this, finding this funny. Yeah. So, long story short, it got so nuts that when she left to go visit her family, we changed our last name to my mom's name and moved here," Naruto said as he sighed. Nabiki nodded at this, before she stopped rubbing his hands. "Okay, you're all set fish cake. Here, you should apply this again, before you go to bed," she said, as she handed him the container of burn ointment and started to walk away, after he reapplied his bandages. Naruto nodded at this, as he took the ointment. "Hey, thanks, Nabiki," he said, deciding to call her by her name. Nabiki paused at this, as Naruto had never called her by her name before she turned to look at him. "Are you going sweet on me, fish cake?" she asked with a teasing smirk. Naruto snorted at this. "Yeah, you wish Gold Digger," he said, as she smirked back at her. Nabiki chuckled at this, as she went inside the school. Naruto watched Nabiki for a moment, before he heard a bicycle bell, and Shampoo slammed into him. But thankfully, Naruto had activated his Tekai and didn't move from the force. "Hello Shampoo," Naruto said with a sigh, as Shampoo had been doing this when greeting him for the last week, so he was used to this by now. Niho Iron. I bring you lunch from Lady Kushina's restaurant. Cooked it myself, Shampoo said happily, as she held a paper bag out to Naruto. Naruto sighed at this and nodded gratefully to her, before he noticed something outside the gates of the school. Ah, there you are, my darling Shampoo, a male teen said, as he hugged Ranma from behind. The teen boy had long black hair and wore a white robe. Naruto noted that the teen boy had what looked like a pair of glasses on his forehead. Oi, get off me. You crazy loon. Ranma yelled, as he punched the teen boy, sending him to the ground. Aiya, Shampoo said, as she groaned in annoyance. Do you know this guy? Naruto asked curiously, as he figured Shampoo knew him, since he was dressed in Chinese garb. He friend from childhood. Moose, what you do here? Shampoo yelled at the male teen. Moose turned towards Naruto and Shampoo, and jumped at them. There you are Shampoo, he yelled happily, before he hugged Naruto. Who was promptly blocked with a kick to his head. Put glasses on, big dummy. Shampoo yelled at Moose. Moose moved his glasses off his forehead and onto his face. There you are. Sorry about that sir, see she's my fiancée, he said to Naruto. No, she's not Moose. You already lost to Shampoo, Cologne said, as she made her presence known. Hey, the ghoul returns, Naruto said flatly, as Cologne hopped over to them with her walking stick. Get used to it, Cologne said, before she looked at Moose. Come now Moose, you lost to Shampoo long ago, she said. That doesn't count, we were children. Moose yelled out. You know our laws as well as I, Shampoo is already engaged to this young man, Cologne said, as she gestured to Naruto with her walking stick. Oh, this should be good, Ranma said with a grin, as he and Akane watched. I'm gonna guess he challenges him to a fight, Akane said, as she shook her head at this. This guy. He's obviously not right for Shampoo. I mean look at him, he dyes his hair. Moose yelled, as he pointed at Naruto. Naruto's eyebrow twitched at this, as he had heard this a lot growing up, and he got really annoyed when people accused him of this. And look at those whisker marks. He's obviously a delinquent. Moose yelled out, as he pointed at Naruto's cheeks. Naruto's eyebrow twitched even more at this. Hey fish cake, you're gonna be late to class. Nabiki yelled from the second-floor window of the school. I'm in a situation, woman. Naruto yelled out, clearly annoyed and at his wit's end. Who is she? Moose asked curiously. She's nobody, just a girl he knows, Cologne said quickly. Hey, excuse me, she's his fiancée, Ranma said with a grin. This got a groan from Akane and Cologne. Thank you, Ranma, Naruto growled out, as he was really annoyed that his cousin had most likely made things worse. Ah-ha. You're a cheater too. That's it. I challenge you to a duel. Moose yelled, as he pointed at Naruto. Nice going Ranma, Akane said, as she scowled at him. Ops, Ranma said with a nervous chuckle. What does this duel entail? Naruto asked, as he wasn't one to back down from a challenge. We fight tomorrow at noon. And if I win, then I get dash, Moose was saying, before. Shampoo is spoken for, Cologne said, cutting him off. Moose paused at this, before he thought for a moment and looked at Nabiki, who was still watching this from the second-story window. Fine. If I win, I get her, Moose said, pointing at Nabiki. This got surprised looks from everyone. So, one girl is as good as another to you? Akane asked with a scowl at this. Why should he care? He has Shampoo, right? Moose said with a smirk. Naruto scowled at this, before he nodded. Fine. You want a fight, then I'll give you a fight, he said. Very well. It's a man-to-man promise. We will fight tomorrow at noon, Moose said. Fine with me. Now get lost, I have school, Naruto said, before he turned to leave and walked towards the school, along with the others, leaving Shampoo, Mousse and Cologne alone. Later, at the rising tide, Naruto and the others were at the bar, while Kushina brought them all some food. So, this hair gel guy just challenged you, and made you bet Nabiki? Kushina asked curiously, as she handed Naruto a bowl of ramen. This made the teens all snicker at Kushina's nickname for Mousse. Pretty much, yeah, Naruto said with a nod, before he ate his ramen. And you're okay with this? Kushina asked Nabiki curiously. I didn't exactly have a say in this. But worst case scenario, and fish cake blows it, I can just have that moron deported, Nabiki said with a bored tone, before she ate some of her ramen. Why didn't you think of that? Akane asked Naruto, thinking that was a much easier option. Because I'm not backing down from his challenge, Naruto said firmly, after he swallowed his food. Miss Kushina, is this an Uzumaki thing? Akane asked curiously, as she had heard Ranma say the same thing. Oh, absolutely. But this is also a macho thing with all teen boys. Would you believe Minato did the same kind of thing, when a guy tried to sweep me off my feet, when we were traveling across China? Kushina said with a grin as she reminisced. Well, if you're gonna beat him, I would get some info about his fighting style, Nabiki said as she ate some more ramen. Well, since Shampoo has obviously fought against him, she'll be able to help me, Naruto said with a nod at this. Yeah, but will she sell out a fellow Amazon? Ranma asked curiously. Before anyone could respond, Shampoo came into the room, carrying her DLVRY box. All done with DLVRY, Lady Kushina. Shampoo yelled happily, as she smiled at Kushina, who nodded at her. There you are, Shampoo. I wanted to ask about Musa's fighting style, Naruto said, as he finished his ramen. Shampoo nodded at this. Mousse is MSTR of dark magic, she said firmly. This got silence from everyone. Please tell me she's not serious, Ranma said to Kushina. Kushina snorted at this. Nah, she means he uses that hidden weapon style, she said, as she rolled her eyes. Ah, that explains his outfit. He can hide all kinds of weapons in those robes and sleeves, Ranma said as he nodded. The dark side is strong within him, Naruto said, trying to sound very Jedi-like. You are such a dork, Nabiki said, as she finished her ramen. Hey, Star Wars is awesome, Naruto said with a shrug. You should take this seriously, Akane said, sounding worried. Mousse is very tricky. Could hurt you if not careful, Shampoo said. Oh, he has this. I have full confidence in him, Nabiki said with a scoff, as she got up to leave. Oh, do you now? Kushina said with a grin at Nabiki. This got teasing grins from Ranma and Akane. Shampoo on the other hand, was scowling and cracking her knuckles as Nabiki left. Freeze, Naruto said firmly to Shampoo. She obstacle and obstacle is 4 dash, Shampoo was saying, before Naruto held his hand up, cutting her off. You so much as hurt a hair on my friend's head, and not only can you forget me ever marrying you, you can forget being my friend, Naruto said with a hard tone, as he glared at Shampoo. Shampoo froze at this, as her eyes widened in surprise at this threat. Okay, let's head home, brat, Kushina said, quickly grabbing Naruto, and pushing him towards the exit. Akane and Ranma followed, deciding to leave just in case Shampoo lashed out. But Shampoo was just silent, as she watched Naruto leave. My future great-grandson-in-law has a mean streak when it comes to his friends getting hurt, Cologne mused, as she entered the room from the kitchen. I don't want Naruto to hate me, but Nabiki is obstacle, Shampoo said with a frown, as she tried to rack her brain for a solution. Maybe there is law I am forgetting that could help, Cologne mused to herself, as she knew Shampoo didn't want to upset Naruto. Shampoo nodded at this, hoping that if there was a law that could help her, her great-grandmother would find it. The next day. Outside the school, there was a bunch of booths set up around a big arena. Nabiki, did you tell the whole school about this? Akane asked her sister with a twitching eyebrow. Hey, Moose announced it to the whole school. Don't blame me for taking bets, Nabiki said from her seat, where she was indeed taking bets. Akane sighed at this, as she shook her head. So, how many are betting on Naruto? She asked curiously. Not a lot, Nabiki said with a shrug. They are all betting on Moose. Akane asked in surprise. Nope. Apparently a rumor is out that Naruto's hands are hurt, and he has a disadvantage, Nabiki said with a smile. Akane and Ranma rolled their eyes at this, as they could see what Nabiki did. Gah, where is Naruto? Moose yelled, as he waited in the arena. He will be here soon, Moose, don't worry, Ranma said, as he sat with Akane and her family at the stands. Ha, like my brat wouldn't show up. Kushina yelled, as she and Minato approached and sat with the tendos. Gunma, who was also sitting with the tendos, flinched a little upon seeing Kushina. Hey fat butt. Are you fully healed yet? I need a workout, Kushina said with a savage grin. Gunma's response was to dump a drink on his head, and turn into a panda, while holding a sign that said, "No attacking the endangered panda," making Akane snort at this. Pfft, like that's gonna stop her, Ranma said with a scoff. DMN straight. Kushina said with a nod. Lady Kushina is more than a match for Fat Panda, Shampoo said, as she sat with Cologne next to the tendos. Before anyone could respond, Naruto appeared in the arena across from Moose. Okay, let's get this over with, Moose, Naruto said, as he stretched a bit. Don't think you can beat me with your living weapon techniques, Uzumaki. Moose yelled, as he scowled at Naruto. Break his legs, brat. Kushina yelled, as she held up a homemade sign that said, if you lose, you're out of the family, colon. This got some laughs from Ranma and Nabiki, before Minato poked Kushina in the forehead, making her chuckle before she turned the sign around, so it said, Go Naruto, colon. Just start the match already, Naruto said to the referee, who was a teacher from the school. Let the match begin, the referee said, as he held up his arm, starting the match. Moose jumped into the air, throwing a barrage of kunai towards Naruto, who simply cracked his neck, before rearing back his leg and sending a kick, creating a crescent blade of air cutting away at the kunai. Moose gasped at this, before narrowing his eyes he launched more kunai towards Naruto, who sent off several more speed kicks, sending out more crescent-shaped blades of wind, slightly cutting away every kunai in his way. Son-in-law seems to have the Rankyaku mastered, Cologne mused, as she watched the match. Yeah, that one took the most time for him to learn, Minato said as he nodded. Naruto smirked, as he vanished and reappeared behind Moose. Before he could react, he was pushed away by a strong palm to his chest, sending him crashing downward to the ground, crashing hard. Naruto smirked, appearing in front of the downed weapon user. Moose jumped to his feet, pulling out a chain ball before throwing it at Naruto, wrapping it around his arm. He gave a loud scream, as he pulled Naruto upwards before smashing him down to the ground. When the dust cleared, Naruto laid there completely unfazed. I'm gonna guess this is his Tekai technique? Son asked Kushina curiously. Yup. It's the perfect defense, Kushina said with a prideful grin. Unless it's against an enemy using a elementary, Minato said with a knowing grin as Kushina face planted. Naruto jumped to his feet and grit his teeth, as he gave a loud roar, breaking the chains with his strength. Naruto worked his neck, rubbing his arms while smirking at the boy's shock. Moose then dropped smoke bombs, creating a cloud of mist. Coward, Naruto thought, before he closed his eyes, focusing only on his ears. Moose threw several kunai, only to phase through Naruto. Suddenly, the sounds of something hitting the air rang through the mist, before Moose was kicked hard in the stomach, causing him to spit up some salvia as he was sent skidding back. Another smoke bomb? Seriously, is that all you got? Naruto taunted, watching as Moose pulled out another smoke bomb, but smirked as he tossed the bomb, blasting water over him. Suddenly, Naruto's eyes widened as he transformed into his kitsune form. Coward must have heard about his curse from Shampoo, Ranma said with a firm tone. Do you think you will be okay? Akane asked curiously, as she didn't want Naruto to get hurt badly. I would be more worried about Moose, Nabiki said with a chuckle, as she saw Naruto's smirk. Ha! Now I've got the EDG ga. Moose gasped, as Naruto crossed his front legs, before punching into Moose's face with two of his kitsune tails, smirking as blow after blow crashed into the weapon's MSTR, sending him rocketing into the sky, before he screamed as he fell to ground. Ah, he used a combination of the chestnut fist and Tekai to pummel Moose with his tails, very clever, Cologne said with a chuckle at this. He must have been inspired by your hair technique auntie, Ranma said with a smile at Naruto's victory. That's my boy. Kushina yelled, as she smiled and punched the air. The referee checked on Moose for a moment, and after he did, he got up. The winner is Naruto Uzumaki, he yelled, pointing at Naruto. This got cheers from the crowd, while Naruto barked and ran over to the others, and gave them a smile. Heh, not bad fish cake, Nabiki said with a smile at Naruto, before turning around. Alright everyone, pay up, she yelled out. Naruto smiled while rolling his eyes at Nabiki, as he figured she would pull this, but was happy she bet on him to win at least. Meanwhile, the defeated Moose was slowly making his way to his feet. This isn't over Uzumaki. I'll dash, he was yelling, as he took out a medieval mace, before. Boom! He was struck by a massive amount of lighting from above. When the flashing stopped, everyone saw what looked like a teen girl with greenish hair, with small horns sticking out of her head. She was also wearing what looked like a tiger print bikini top and bottom, along with boots. Oh darling! Where is my darling? The girl yelled out, as she floated around looking for someone. Naruto froze at this, and slowly turned to look at this girl, and when he saw her, his fur went pure white. Oh geez, Minato said, as he pinched his nose. Gahahaha. Hey brat, that crazy bee found you. Kushina cackled madly. I'm gonna guess this is Fish Cake's ex. Nabiki asked with a chuckle, as the flying girl floated around, looking for Naruto. Yeah, that's Lum Invader. Lucky for him, she doesn't know about his curse form, Minato said with a smile. Another obstacle? Shampoo growled, as she took out her ball clubs and glared at Lum. Many boys in the crowd heard this, with a few muttering under their breaths, lucky BSTRD, and, why does he get all the cute ones? Oh. Hello Miss Kushina. Where is my darl, oi? Lum was saying, before she yelled as she dodged a swipe from Shampoo's clubs by floating above her. You know, take Naruto. He my fiancé. Shampoo yelled out, as she glared at Lum. Lum paused at this, before she glared at Shampoo, her hair sparking with electricity as she did. Oh geez, we better move, Minato said to everyone. Yup. This is a cat fight you don't want to be in the middle of, Kushina said as she nodded. If that was the case, wouldn't Shampoo be in her cat form, Genma asked with a sign and a raised eyebrow. Hush fat boy, Kushina said. Before she slapped Genma in the back of the head. Naruto jumped onto Nabiki's head and barked, before pointing with his tails. You so owe me for this one Whiskers, Nabiki said, as she followed her family out of the area, while Shampoo made a battle cry and Lum screamed in fury, as they started to fight. Meanwhile, a charred black moose limped away from the area. Nermi Award. Outside the high school, the sounds of lighting cracking and Shampoo's battle cries were heard, as the Amazon fought against the Oni girl, who kept avoiding her attacks by flying around her, and attacking her with lighting. You're getting annoying, you little hussy. Lum yelled, as her hair sparked from her anger, as she avoided another swing of Shampoo's clubs, by hovering around her. Who you call a husky? Shampoo is in perfect shape. Shampoo yelled out, as she landed on a rooftop, and glared at Lum in a rage. Lum gained a flat look at this, as she looked at Shampoo. This is who my darling has been cheating on me with. A moron? She asked. Shampoo started to growl at this, before she smirked. Shampoo may not be smartest, but future husband hasn't ran away from her, she said smugly, as she flipped her hair, as if showing off. Lum growled at this, as her hair started to spark again, before she screamed in absolute fury and fired some lightning at Shampoo which she dodged expertly. Nearby, Ryoga was in his pig form near a lake, and was trying to make his way back to the Tendo dojo. But because of his bad sense of direction, he slipped and fell into the lake, just as Lum's lightning struck the lake. This caused the water to heat up, and in a burst, Ryoga jumped out of the lake, bright red and burned in his human form naked. Too hot. Ryoga screamed out, as he ran to his nearby backpack. Get back here, you moronic bimbo. Lum screeched out, as more lightning was thrown. Shampoo not bimbo. Shampoo all natural, unlike flat chest, Shampoo said with a smirk, dodging the lightning as she did. I'm a D-cup, you tramp. Lum bellowed out in a rage, reaching her wit's end with this. Geez, this is Naruto's ex. She definitely explains why he's fidgety, and is hiding in his cursed form, Ryoga said, as he put his clothes on, and as he finished putting his shirt on, Lum was in his face. You know where my darling is? Lum yelled in excitement, at finally finding Naruto. Oh sure. If you have hot water, you should be able to find him, Ryoga said casually, as he went to his backpack. Huh? Lum asked, as she tilted her head to the side in confusion. Stupid pig boy. She know about curses. Shampoo yelled at Ryoga. My darling is cursed. Who did it? I'll fry their insides. Lum yelled out angrily. That moron did it to himself, by falling into, oi. Ryoga was saying, before Lum grabbed him. Tell me what you know, or I'll fry you, until you're charred black. Lum yelled in Ryoga's face, while her hair sparked from her rage. Ryoga's sweat dropped at this, as he weighed his options. With Naruto. Meanwhile, inside the Tendo household, Naruto was hiding in Ranma's room, hiding under his futon with his fox tail sticking out from underneath it. The sliding door opened and Nabiki walked in with a pot of hot water and shook her head seeing the tail. This is just sad, she thought at this, before she looked down the hall. I found him, she bellowed out for the house to hear. This caused Naruto to instantly bolt out from under Ranma's futon, and book it towards the window. But the window opened and a net caught him, which was then pulled closed by Ranma. Got you cuz, Ranma said, as he held the closed net, while Genma in his panda form, stood behind him holding a sign that said, Victory, on it. Naruto growled at this, as he barked at them in defiance. Oh, will you relax? Your ex and Shampoo are still fighting from what I heard, Nabiki said, as she poured the container of hot water over Naruto. Yeah, and she's destroying the neighborhood with her lightning, Akane said with an annoyed look, as she and Kasumi entered the room, with Son close behind them. How does she pull that trick off? Ranma asked curiously, as he let Naruto out of the net and handed him his clothes, which he took begrudgingly and put on. No idea, it's one of her alien abilities, Naruto SSID with a sigh, as he put his clothes on. This got surprised looks from everyone in the room. Oh my, Kasumi said in surprise at this revelation. You're kidding, Ranma said with a raised eyebrow, not buying this. She's a real-life actual alien. Like, from outer space. As in, another planet? Akane asked, wanting clarification. Genma then held up another sign that read, I don't want to be probed by an alien, while he had a panicked look on his face. The planet is gonna be invaded. Son yelled in a panic along with Genma. I almost wish I had let that happen, instead of dealing with this, Naruto groaned, as he finished getting dressed. Okay, this sounds like a good story. So let's hear it, Nabiki said to Naruto, as she hated not having all the info on a situation. Naruto sighed at this and nodded. Okay, fair enough. Kasumi, please get out some food and tea, since it's gonna be a long story, he said. Okay. Please wait in the guest room, Kasumi said, as she left the room. Naruto nodded at this, as they all left the room and went downstairs. Minutes later, they were all in the guest room, sitting at the table. Okay, now before I start, I need to tell you that before I moved here, my family changed our last name. And when I tell you this last name, some of you might recognize it, Naruto said, as he looked at everyone. Get to the point already, Whiskers, Nabiki said, wanting to hear the story already. Yeah, let's hear it, Ranma said, as he nodded in agreement. Okay, does the family name Namikaze mean anything to you? Naruto asked curiously. Nabiki mused, as she thought about this. Ain't that the family last year that helped the government with some world-ending threat that was covered up? Akane asked curiously. Bingo, Naruto said, as he held up his finger. This is that story, he said as he sighed. Flashback starts, 1 year ago. In Tamabiki Town, Japan, Naruto was a first year in high school, and was walking home from school when he spotted a couple of schoolmates, a teen boy and a teen girl talking on a bridge nearby. The boy had short brown hair. This was Ataru Moriboshi, a known pervert at Naruto's school. But despite the fact he looked at other girls, he still always went back to the girl he was currently talking to. The girl was in a school uniform and had short brown hair. This was Shinobu Miyake. Naruto didn't mind Ataru actually, as he had seen worse perverts, if you could believe it. He actually gave Ataru advice sometimes on being a decent person, which was how he had gotten Shinobu to give him a chance and go out with him. Hey, if it isn't Tamabiki Town's favorite on-again off-again couple, Naruto said with a chuckle, as he approached them. Ha, 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 Ataru said with an annoyed tone at his friend's quip at his expense. Hey Namikaze. You doing okay? Shinobu asked curiously. She didn't mind Naruto. If anything, she appreciated him, since Ataru actually listened to his advice, which actually worked out for them so far. I'm not doing too bad, still avoiding fangirls, Naruto said with a shudder. I still can't believe that so many girls like you that much, Ataru said with a slightly jealous tone. Yeah, and they all share one brain, Shinobu said with a scoff. Even that's being nice to them, Naruto said with a smile at Shinobu. Before either of the teens could respond to Naruto, a short bald old man with a monk's staff was walking by, before he paused and looked at Naruto. My boy, you are cursed with bad luck, the old man said with a look of worry, as he looked at Naruto. Are you kidding? Naruto has been nothing but lucky, since we were kids, Ataru said with a scoff at this. Shinobu nodded at this, as this was very much true. Heed my warning, young man. You may have been lucky so far in your life, but the universe will be challenging you soon, the old monk said, as he walked away from the three teens. What the heck was his deal? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. You know how old-timers are when they get old. They will do anything for attention, Ataru said with a shrug. That, or he was off his meds, Naruto said with a snicker at this, getting a laugh from Ataru, as they all walked down the road. As they walked, the road was soon blocked by some black vans, as some men in black suits got out and surrounded the three teens. Naruto Namikaze, one of the men asked, looking at Naruto. That's my name, don't wear it out, Naruto said with a grin. Yeah, it's a rental, Ataru said with a smile, before Shinobu poked him in the forehead. We are with the government. Come with us to your house, please, one of the men said, as they pulled Naruto with them. Oh geez, did mom end up on a watch list? Naruto asked with a groan, as he was pulled along. Ha! I knew this day would come. You owe me money, Naruto. Ataru yelled with a smile at Naruto, as he and Shinobu were also brought with him. What are you on about? Shinobu asked him, as they were all put in a van, before they drove off. I made a bet that the government would take his mom away someday, if she kept beating up punks who crossed her, Ataru said with a grin, as they quickly arrived and were pushed into Naruto's house, and were pushed into the living room. They don't have a government agent that could take my mom down, Naruto said, as the government agents opened the door to the living room, where Kushina and Minato were sitting at the table, along with a big and tall man who was wearing a yellow outfit with brown stripes on it. He also had horns sticking out of his head, and behind him were some men in what looked like yellow outfits with brown stripes as well, who also seemed to have horns on their heads too. DMN straight they don't. Kushina yelled out greeting Naruto as he, Ataru and Shinobu were pushed into the room by the government agents. Ah, this is him the big man said, as he looked down at Naruto curiously. Naruto looked up at the man curiously and raised an eyebrow at the Oni horns on his head, before he looked at his parents. What's with the cosplayers? He asked them. This caused the men with horns behind the big man to pull out what looked like guns and point them at Naruto. Ataru and Shinobu looked worried at this, but Naruto. He just looked bored. Hey, big guy. Not that I'm worried about being shot, since I'm immune to being shot, but can you have them back off? If they fire on me, the ricochet might hit my friends, and then I'm gonna get mad and have to get rough with them, Naruto said, looking at the big man, while ignoring his men, who were pointing guns at him. The big man looked at Naruto for a few moments, before. Gahahahahaha. I like you kid. You show no fear, he said, as he laughed loudly. I know, right? My brat isn't one to be scared, even if you are aliens, Kushina said with a smile at the man. Aliens? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Indeed. You can call me Mr. Invader, the big man said with a grin at Naruto. H. He's gonna invade our planet, and turn us all into his slaves. Ataru yelled out in fear, while Shinobu looked panicked. Not if Mr. Namikaze wins Mr. Invader's challenge, one of the government agents said, getting their attention. What challenge? Shinobu asked with a cocked eyebrow. It's customary for us to challenge your people, before we invade your planet and our ship randomly picks one of you Earthlings, and you're who it picked, Mr. Invader said with a smile at Naruto. So I have to win this challenge, and you guys will pack up and leave Earth? Naruto asked, wanting to clarify what the stakes are. That's about the state of things son, Minato said, as he nodded. Naruto nodded at this. Okay, what's the challenge? He asked Mr. Invader. And, what are the rules? Ataru asked nervously. The challenge is a game of tag. You have 10 days to catch your opponent, and grab them by the horns, Mr. Invader said with a confident smirk, as he pointed to his horns. Wait, seriously? That's it? Naruto asked with wide eyes. That's it, Mr. Invader said, as he nodded at Naruto. Okay, fine. So, who am I facing? Is it you? Naruto asked curiously. No, you will be facing my daughter, Mr. Invader said, as one of his men walked over to the window and opened it, as a burst of green light shined through it. When the light died down, a teen girl with long greenish hair that reached her back was standing in the room. She was wearing what looked like a leopard-style bikini and boots, and she also had small horns sticking out of her hair. This is Lum, my daughter, the one you will be facing, Mr. Invader said to Naruto. He gets to touch that cutie. Lucky, oof. Ataru was saying, before Shinobu stomped on his foot. So, you're my opponent. Well, you at least don't look as plain as the rest of the people on your planet, Lum said, as she looked at Naruto curiously. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this, before he looked at Mr. Invader. So when do we do this? He asked him. Ready to get started, eh? We start at noon tomorrow, and your government will have the details, Mr. Invader said with a grin at Naruto. Okay, see you then. Sorry you came all this way, just to have to leave, Naruto said with a casual tone. Confident, aren't you? Lum asked with a confident smirk, as if she knew something Naruto didn't. You seem to be one to talk, Miss Invader, Naruto said with a smirk of his own. Lum's smirk didn't waver at this before she, her father and his men all disappeared in another flash of light. I like that girl, Kushina said with a smile. You would like her, since she's an alien invader, and probably a hothead like you, Naruto said, as he was good at reading people, and he had a bad feeling about Lum's attitude. Plus, she's looking to invade Earth. Probably best to focus on just beating her, Minato said, as he shook his head at his wife. Oh, please. The brat has this in the bag, especially with my family's style, Kushina said with a scoff and a smirk. Huh? Style? Ataru asked curiously, along with Shinobu. The fate of the Earth is in your son's hands, Miss Namikaze, one of the government agents said, as his men all left. Yeah, he's got this. You just make sure that check clears. Kushina yelled after the government agent, as he too left. Naruto sighed at this, as he should have known his mother would make the government pay them for this. Oi, don't judge me, brat. You know I have always wanted to open a restaurant, and this is my chance to get the funds for it. Kushina yelled with a smile. Naruto just shook his head at this, before he and his friends went to hang out. The next day. Inside a sports arena, people and alien invaders were inside the stands, ready to watch the game of tag that would decide the fate of the Earth. Naruto was in the middle of the arena and was looking at the crowd, who were cheering for him, hoping he would be inspired to win. Lum was standing across from him, waiting for the match to start. I hope you can make this match interesting, human, Lum said, as she looked around at the crowd with her arms behind her head. Careful, overconfidence might make you fail your race, Naruto said with a small smirk. Lum frowned in annoyance at this, as the referee approached them both. Okay, the rules are simple, Mr. Namikaze has 10 days to grab Lum by the horns. If he can do this, then the Earth is saved. If not, then the Earth will be taken over. Is that understood? The referee said, as he looked at both Naruto and Lum. Crystal, Naruto said firmly, as he did some stretches to limber himself up. Alright, for the fate of the Earth, began, the referee yelled, as he held up his arm. Grab her by the horns, son. Minato yelled from his seat in the stands. Yeah, I'm not gonna be some alien SLV brat. Kushina yelled from her seat next to her husband. Oh please, you would go out taking as many of them as you could with you, Naruto said with a scoff, as he stood up from his stretches. Less talking, more saving the Earth, brat. Kushina bellowed out, annoyed at her son's mouth. What she said, all the Earthlings watching in the stands yelled together. Alright, geez, Naruto said, before he ran at Lum, who just stood there, and as he got close, she floated in the air and hovered above him, avoiding him. Huh? Naruto said, pausing and looking up at Lum, who was flying away from him. You should have looked up my abilities, Earthling. Why do you think we are giving you 10 days? Lum said with a condescending smile at Naruto. Naruto's eyebrow twitched in annoyance at this, before he began squatting. What's he gonna do, jump at her? Ataru asked with a sigh, as he didn't see the point of this. Yeah, she's way too high to make it high enough to grab her, Shinobu said with a sigh. Oh, you'll be surprised at what Naruto can do, Kushina said with a wide grin. Lum kept her condescending smile, as she watched Naruto. Let's see you keep that smile, after I beat you, Naruto said with a smirk, before he jumped into the air. Moonwalk, he yelled, as he rapidly kicked the air, and made his way towards Lum. What the hell? Lum yelled along with her fellow aliens, who were watching this in the stands. Little tidbit big guy, my family's style of fighting makes us a living weapon, and flying isn't gonna help your kid, Kushina said with a smirk at Mr. Invader, who looked flabbergasted at this. Come here. Naruto yelled, as he swiped at Lum, who flew away from him. No way. What kind of Earthling are you? Lum yelled out, as she flew away, with Naruto on her tail. I'm one of a kind, lady, Naruto said, as he jumped towards her and grabbed her foot. Ha, gotcha, he yelled with a grin. Lum growled at this and glared at Naruto, causing her hair to start to spark with electricity. Eh? Naruto asked, not expecting this, as he saw clouds forming above them. Back off. Lum yelled, as she engulfed herself with lightning, shocking Naruto with electricity. Yaowaha! Naruto shouted out, as he was lit up like a Christmas tree from the attack, before the attack ended and he fell to the ground, smoking and twitching. Ah, bad luck. She has an elemental attack, Minato said as he snapped his fingers. The old man was right. Ataru yelled in a panic, remembering what that old monk had said to Naruto. Oi brat! Don't you dare die. And if you are dead, I'll find a way to bring you back to beat you up for losing. Kushina yelled. Like that would kill me. Naruto growled out, as he slowly got on his feet and glared up at Lum. You're either stubborn or not that bright, Lum said, as she shook her head. The jury is still out on that, Minato said with a wave of his hand, as he had seen Naruto's report card, and while it wasn't the worst, it wasn't the best either. F you. Now, come here woman. Naruto yelled, as he jumped at Lum with a battle cry. Aw. You sound like a pervert. Lum yelled, as she flew away from Naruto in a panic. Oi, who are you calling a pervert? Besides, you're dressed like a call girl. Naruto yelled out, as he used moonwalk to pursue Lum. Lum's eyebrows started to twitch violently at this, as lightning surged around her. Call girl, she screeched out angrily, as lightning struck all around the area. And now this has gotten a whole lot harder, Minato said with a groan, as he slapped his forehead, as the audience screamed in a panic, as some of the lightning struck nearby. Flashback break. Wait a minute, you're telling me you are so much of a meathead, that you actually provoked her after she already zapped you with lightning? Nabiki asked with a raised eyebrow, interrupting the story. Genma held up a sign at this which read, the Uzumakis were known to not have much sense on it. I know you're not talking about someone not having sense, Uncle Fat, but, Naruto said with an annoyed look at Genma. Point out Pops being a moronic hypocrite later. How did you beat Lum? Ranma asked, as he was really getting into this story. Right. Well, this went on for at least a week, since every time I got close, she blasted me with lightning. And no matter how good my Tekai is, her lightning really hurts, Naruto said, as he continued on with the story. Flashback continue, a week later. It was now night time, and Naruto was resting down by the lake, trying to think of a strategy to catch Lum and grab her horns, before she could zap him again. As he looked at the lake, he spotted Ataru and Shinobu nearby talking to each other, and saw that Ataru said something to Shinobu, before she blushed brightly and nodded. What's got you two so excited? Naruto asked with a grin, as he used shave to appear on a wall next to them. Gah! Don't do that. Ataru and Shinobu yelled together, before Shinobu slugged the wall Naruto was standing on, destroying the wall and making Naruto jump off. Heh, sorry about that. So, what's up? I hope it's good news after the week I had, Naruto said with a scowl, as he thought about Lum. Well, I kinda made a bet with Shinobu, regarding your match with Lum, Ataru said, as he rubbed the back of his head. I swear Ataru, if you bet against me, I'm gonna hog-tie you and leave you at the guy's end of the hot spring with the old guys, Naruto said with an annoyed look. Ataru went green at this, while Shinobu shook her head at this. No. He said that if you win, he promises he will not look at other girls anymore, and, marry me, Shinobu said with a blush. Naruto blinked in surprise at this, before he looked at Ataru. Well, look at you finally stepping up, he said with a smile. Well, with all this alien invasion CRP, it kinda puts things in perspective for me, Ataru said with a sheepish grin. Well, you better start planning the wedding you two, 'cause I'm not done yet, Naruto said with a determined grin, as he punched his palm. Ataru and Shinobu smiled at this and nodded, glad they could give Naruto some motivation. The next day, Naruto was chasing Lum across the city, and she was making her way back to the arena, while eating an ice cream cone. Aren't you gonna give up yet? You may be able to keep up, but this is just getting boring now, Lum said with a bored tone, as she ate her ice cream. Naruto growled at this, as they entered the arena. I'll be damned if I'm giving up. I'm looking to make a wedding happen. So it's time to end this. Naruto yelled out. Lum's eyes widened at this, before she turned to look at Naruto in surprise. Wedding, she stuttered out in surprise. Naruto ignored this before he shot at Lum, before he suddenly started to ricochet around Lum as he disappeared and reappeared around her, making after images. What the hell is that? Mr. Invader yelled out in shock, at seeing this display of speed. That's my brat, finally stepping up and making the Uzumaki name proud. Kushina yelled with a smile at her son's creativity. Lum looked around in a panic, as she tried to figure out which Naruto was real. But before she could make a decision on the show to try and zap, Naruto appeared behind her. Gotcha! Naruto yelled out with a smile, as he grabbed her horns. This caused a buzzer to go off, and some confetti to go off, as the scoreboard showed the words Earth wins. And Naruto Namikaze has grabbed Lum's horns, making him the winner, the referee yelled out. The crowd cheered at this, as they all ran into the field, as Naruto and Lum landed on the grass. Naruto looked at Ataru and Shinobu and gave them a thumbs up and a smile, getting one in return from the couple. Lum looked at Naruto's smile, and soon she smiled herself and nodded. Very well, I accept your proposal, she said. This got silence from the crowd, as Naruto looked at Lum. Huh? What are you talking about? Naruto asked with a confused look on his face. Your marriage proposal, I accept it darling, Lum said with a smile, as she hugged Naruto, shocking him. My brat is engaged. Get out the sake. Gahahahaha. Kushina yelled out before laughing madly. You're not funny woman. Naruto yelled at his mother, before he felt a hand on his shoulder and looked behind himself, as he saw Mr. Invader looking down at him. I couldn't ask for a better son-in-law, just don't hurt her, or they won't find the body, Mr. Invader said with a wide grin. Naruto groaned at this, as Lum hugged him tightly. Flashback end. And so, for the next year, my life was a living hell, with her making crazy stuff happening around me, Naruto said with a sigh, as he finished his meal and Kasumi brought out some tea for everyone. Ah, I can see why you bailed and changed your family name to your mom's name, Akane said with a nod. It didn't work at DMN though, since she found you whiskers, Nabiki said with a teasing grin at Naruto. Not yet. She never found out about my cursed form, so I at least have that, Naruto said with a confident grin. Hey, have you noticed how quiet it's been outside? Ranma asked everyone. Oh, maybe the fighting has stopped, Kasumi said with a smile. Naruto froze at this, before the roof blew up and he dived behind the table, as he grabbed a cup of water. Darling? Where are you? Lum yelled, as she flew into the living room, looking around. The door was open, Miss Invader, Son said with an annoyed tone. Lum turned to look at Son and looked at everyone. Who are all of you? She asked curiously. I'm Naruto's cousin Ranma, nice to meet you, Ranma said waving at the alien. Oh, wonderful. You can help me find darling. Where is he hiding? Is he here? She asked, smiling at Ranma. Naruto, in his fox form, jumped onto the table and started to clean himself, trying to look inconspicuous. Oh, there you are. I got you. Lum yelled happily, as she grabbed Naruto and started to hug him tightly. Wait, you know about his curse? Akane asked curiously. Oh yes. A nice boy with an umbrella told me about his curse, Lum said with a smile. Nabiki's eyebrow twitched in annoyance at this, as he felt really annoyed that Ryoga sold out her finances secret. Naruto growled at this, before he used Kami-e to get loose from Lum's hug and took off out into the backyard, before jumping over the fence. Play Lum's love song. Oh no you don't, darling. You're not getting away. Lum yelled, as she flew off after Naruto. You know chase Naruto. Shampoo yelled, as she chased after them. Come back. Darling. Lum yelled out, as she flew after Naruto, with Shampoo close behind her. Are you gonna let this happen? Akane asked Nabiki with a raised eyebrow. For now, Nabiki said with a sigh, as for now, she had to make plans to confront Ryoga about his loose tongue. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author KFB Anime 87 on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.